welcome. It is Tuesday, March 20th, 2018, 6 o'clock. Call the meeting of the Rockingham Select Board to order. The first thing on the agenda, though, is the Rockingham Zoning or Bylaws Amendment hearing, public hearing, which I believe, do we have Chuck? Anyone?
Chuck, there he is.
There he is. Chuck, you're on.
No, without further ado.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a public hearing for the zoning bylaw amendments.
I would just come down after.
This is a requirement for us to approve any of the zoning bylaw changes. There are three changes associated with these bylaws. First, we dissolved the Planning Commission Zoning Board of Adjustment. We made one development review board. So for a document that references all these groups, that could be befuddling to the average landowner that wants to develop their land and doesn't know if they should talk to the Planning Commission or the Zoning Board of Adjustment or this new thing called the DRB. We simplified that for them. We standarded the document completely. You've seen a lot of changes. Those changes are primarily aesthetic, but they're also kind of behind, under the hood. If you open up that hood of the car and you look at the engine now, it's all reference. It's going to go online. Somebody can click on a section of the table of contents, zoom to that pertinent section. We had these bylaws. They're about as old as I am. So, and I would say that they started with a typewriter and they moved their way up through every iteration of software. And it was quite the document that I inherited. So we started from scratch. We stripped everything out and then we started updating it. Then to include finding references that no longer existed, clarifying that. I will say that one of our selectmen, Peter, found a reference that even I missed. That was looking at some section that no longer exists. That's what happens when you have things constantly intertwined. You make one tweak here and you forgot to turn the lights off in that room, and that's been left on for 20 plus years. The last item is a technical issue. I just want to reiterate and reaffirm the Justice Center kind of concept change to our zoning. You know, a lot of moving parts that year with the petition flying through, with the town plan being readopted, and with this amendment to the zoning bylaws. Just in case there's any quirk in the way that timeline went and some lawyer 5 years from now can take advantage of that, forget that. Let's just put it back in there, reaffirm it, and readopt it as such. I've heard no comments from anybody other than Peter Golick this morning, who pointed out on page 109 there's a few technical edits that need to happen, referencing subsection X that doesn't exist. That's all I have.
Okay, so this is the first, do we have to have a, what's the process, just to reiterate?
Moving forward, the second hearing you have to have, and then following that hearing you can move straight to adoption. If you yourself see anything in this bylaw that needs changing, you can remand it back to the Planning Commission. Sorry for not doing this ahead of time. Randy Vondel, my chair. If the select board says there's a substantive change that needs to happen, it gets put back to the Planning Commission and we have to work on it and send it back to you. If no changes, then you can adopt at that meeting.
No need further questions, comments? Yes.
Hi, I'm Andrew Smith from Bevel's Falls. I just wanted to bring up an issue with some of the procedures regarding that might affect your zoning bylaws. I'll be trusting the select board to be studying those in depth, and you can determine if there's anything pertinent to what I am about to refer to in those bylaws. And this concerns the when decisions are codified. I was, still am, an interested party as an abutter to a decision that was made and issued back on the 12th of February. That decision included a number of details, and the board, the DRB worked very hard on it. I do appreciate that. The conditions included it all being contingent on the applicant issuing a final site plan. As of today, we still haven't seen that final site plan, at least as of my mailbox this afternoon. The reason I'm bringing this up is the 30-day window that an abutter, or an interested party, I should say, an interested party has to appeal a decision to the environmental court, if they so choose to, has come and gone. And yet we still haven't seen the final site plan for that decision. So there might not be anything in that final site plan that I would object to. But there's no way of knowing that. And again, the appeal period has come and gone. So I think you can see, I'm bringing up this out of a concern for the fairness of the process and giving the interested parties the all the appropriate rights that they should have as interested parties. And I think that possibly revisiting things procedurally for future applications when they come before the board might be advisable, and it might also prevent an interested party having to deal with either the environmental court or bringing other action if they have an issue with an after the fact issued final site plan. So I hope you'll consider that. Thanks.
Anything further?
Any response to Andrew's concerns from the chair or you, Chuck?
I'm not on the zoning board anymore, or
Okay.
development review board anymore, so I wasn't party to that application.
Yeah.
I think it's more unique to that decision.
I'm not trying to put Chuck on the spot.
No, I'm not either, but-
He's aware of this
Yeah.
final site plan not being in yet.
I want to give what he says very serious consideration. It's not immediately apparent to me that it would be part of the bylaws,
Right.
that it could have been good intentions on my part as well as the DRB to write a decision that gave a business flexibility, but then, Andrew correctly points out a deficiency in that if he doesn't like the revised site plan, we've lost the window for appeal.
Right.
That's not a shortcoming of the bylaws, that's a shortcoming of the administrator and the DRB, primarily the administrator.
Right.
So if I had to do that in the future, I would have been more cognizant of that possibility. I don't know how impactful it's gonna be normally, but we kicked out most of the signs that this applicant wanted, and we said, you can maximize what you want in the bylaws, but no more.
Right.
So give us a revised site plan when you're ready. We didn't set a deadline or anything. And it creates that deficiency that Andrew spoke so well
Right.
about.
But I would be to assume that when that new or site plan does arrive, it would be in accordance with whatever else, excluding what you had kicked out. So it would be in accordance with what you'd hope to see.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Should have
that's
probably ended up being a continued meeting.
right. Right.
We wanted to meet everyone's concerns, be pro-business, try to get these guys moving, but also understand we had certain restrictions. We cannot allow signs in excess of those restrictions.
Right.
Okay, anything further? And, yes.
Oh, I was just, sorry I was late. If this is over, I just wanted to see if it's possible to still add something to the agenda.
Yeah, we haven't.
Okay, when you're done.
So the next meeting will be scheduled, the next public hearing?
For the 3rd of April,
April 3rd of
and I
April.
will be here as well.
Okay, super.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Now we can call the meeting to order, because that was the public hearing. Any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting?
Yes, I have two items. One would be to add item 1D under Rockingham Town Highways, an award contract for downtown paving. This had been intended to be on the agenda, and for some reason it was left off. And then lastly, an executive session per 1 VSA 313A3 to discuss the appointment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. That would go at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Approved minutes of March 6, 2018.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment on items not on the agenda. Okay, moving on. Manager's report.
Okay.
Oh, sorry,
it's,
I'm sorry, I
go
didn't
ahead.
catch it. Go ahead.
I'm Carol Jean Jones.
Mhm.
I was here last night, and I know we discussed the traffic and the parking and stuff, but I'd like to do an extension to that. I'm a walker, and within the past month, I've had trucks and cars this far away from my body, in the crosswalk, not on the sidewalk. And it just happened a few days ago, and I know the person saw me. I always look to see if they're on their phone. That's the first thing I check. This person was not on their phone. They looked right at me and just kept on going. So there's a lot of metal coming that close to either me or any other senior or mother walking her child. So I don't know what we can do about that. I know we don't have like a huge police force to just sit there and give out tickets, but I'm telling you, in the past month, they would have gotten their quota for the month just in that violation.
Where did that incident take place?
The incident took place on the corner of School and Atkinson Street.
Hmm.
And that's not the first time that's happened to me at that intersection.
Okay.
And that's an intersection that's utilized by junior high school and especially the elementary school children and their moms or whoever's picking them up.
Was that during the time that the school was in operation or
The
getting
school
out?
was in operation, yes.
Okay, the kids weren't walking
No,
on sidewalks,
that's
okay.
All right, well, that's partly a trustees issue, but it's also,
If
I mean,
could
we've been
be
looking at
a
street safety, for
person
sure.
to distribute tickets, I would gladly do it. Because they would definitely stop. You know, but that's a serious situation,
Yeah,
very serious.
yeah.
That's just-
One more question, was it the trucks you mentioned, was that a heavy-duty truck or was it a pickup truck?
One time it was a heavy duty, and I was down crossing the crosswalk, getting ready to go into Leasi's. And I actually had two witnesses. The only thing I did not get was the truck driver's license plate number. I wish I had, but I was so shaken. He was doing at least 60 coming this way. Not a street to be doing 60 on, that is not 91 or any of the other major highways. He swerved, and I know he saw me because he was going so fast, he had to swerve around me, and I was in the middle of the crosswalk, and it was by God's grace that that I'm still standing here talking to you. So there was a couple on that little side street coming out by what used to be Cumberland Farms. And they were also going into Leasi's. They came up to me before we all got into Leasi's to make sure I was okay. And then I saw him doing this down Atkinson. So,
Did you have something you wanted to?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Okay. Moving on to the agenda. Discuss weight limits restrictions, Westminster Street Square, Rockingham.
Manager's report?
Oh, sorry.
That's
You're
okay.
right.
As previously discussed, a request was made to the Vermont Department of Taxes by the listers seeking recalculation of the education tax, and that was related to the hydroelectric, the Supreme Court decision on the hydroelectric valuation. And you'll recall that the town had to repay to TransCanada $346,000 and change, almost $167,000 of which was attributable to the school tax. Listers put in an application to try to seek reimbursement from the state, and it was denied. I just want you to know that. There's only $100,000 statewide, and it was denied because of timeliness. The case happened, the decision was made in 2016, and it was deemed to be too far away. Secondly, BIFTA had submitted a grant to the National Life Foundation seeking funding to conduct a downtown beautification sort of analysis and study, and that was unfortunately not funded. Good news, though, is that we did receive a check in the amount of $31,314. That's full payment of the MDP Properties LLC tax stabilization recoupment. So we were successful in getting that. So that's good news. A couple of things having to do with solid waste management. Composter, backyard composters are once again for sale, $50 each. And we also have Sure Close food scrap pails at $5 each. You can order those by calling 674-9235. Or the Solid Waste District, their website has them for sale. They're due by April 13th. Also, if you go to a backyard composting workshop, you can get them at a discount, $35. And there's a backyard composting workshop scheduled for June 21st at the library. And so people should go, and it's good information to get. Also, hazardous household waste collections. The nearest ones are the Springfield Transfer Station. Those are scheduled for May 12 and September 8. That's all I have.
What was that number? 31,214?
The amount was $31,313.90. $31,314 roughly.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, now we can move on to the agenda. First thing is discuss weight limit restrictions, Westminster Street, Square, Rockingham Street. So, as people are aware, this has been an ongoing topic. I tried to go back to where we originally started talking about this. I want to say it was last summer.
Yes.
And Gaetano brought it up. And then we had frequent discussions over time, and till we had a motion on November 7th, the board finalized the load limit and enforcement of violations and replaced the proper signage as previously discussed. What we didn't do, and it's, I mean, I apologize to those who are in the industry, the trucks that we're talking about. We should have invited you here much earlier than we have now. So we're kind of going a little backwards, but we wanted to make sure we had a good conversation about this and to get your perspectives as well. We've had a few times people have come in, but we want to have a full discussion tonight about this. So Shane, is there something you want to start off with?
First, there was a discussion at last night's trustees meeting where a good number of the same people here this evening were in attendance. There was a good, healthy discussion at that time. But the board had asked to establish the primarily Westminster Street, the Square, and Rockingham Street up to the bridge as 24,000 pounds. There is some, I mentioned this last night and to the board previously, that the statutes are written where it's not clear as to what the rules are really. And another legislature is considering making some changes that right now. Long story short, if it's a village, like we have an incorporated village, the weight limit is per state highway system. If it is not a village, if it was just a town, it would be 24,000 pounds. And that's the way the state DMV has been working on it. There is a village ordinance that talks about 24,000 pounds. Under the state law, however, the Secretary of Transportation would have to acquiesce to that, and I don't see any record that ever happened. So I know the board is wanting to go forward with 24,000 pounds, and we did contact VTrans and their technical services office and spent a good amount of time with a gentleman named Marcos Miller, who assisted us with coming up with a signage plan. The board did request that signs be ordered, and we in fact have ordered some signs that would not be dependent upon whatever decisions made that comes out of this. So there are a number that would direct people toward 91, say off of the Arch Bridge, instead of sending them to 91 southbound, they would be heading north to go, and a few other changes. We ordered, Mike, maybe 15, 20 signs already? So those are on order. There are other ones that depended upon the ultimate decision here, we could easily order as well. But the state put together a very good signed plan for us that we're looking to implement in almost every instance.
Right, and some of the, I mean, Gaetano, you might want to add more, but I mean, some of the concerns, which is why this became a discussion, was speed of traffic going through town. And what appeared to be is through trucks going to town. We weren't talking about the trucks going to Coda and Coda to fill up, or the trucks making deliveries, but more of those that we feel, logging trucks that were going through, and then a couple, at least once there was a house on the back of a trailer that was going through the middle of town. So that's where a lot of the concern came around, what looked like through traffic going through. But, Gaetano, you want to add anything?
I don't think I need to add anything right now. We'll wait and hear what other people have to say. And then the instance where two 18-wheelers met at the Sovereignette building. Does anyone remember that? About 3 months ago? Shut down traffic in the square for, it's tough to get one 18-wheeler through there with cars on both sides, especially in the winter. And two of them met, and the one guy couldn't back up, so it took several hours to clear that up. And it's mostly a weight concern is how this was brought up. Speed is a separate issue, not enforced. This is weight because we pay, which we'll get to at item D. We're about to spend a bunch of money on the road. And did some comments last night about 91 would be potholes if the vehicle loads affected the road. I've watched it crack the building over there, further and further to the point where corner of it's about to fall off. It doesn't happen when passenger cars go by. It does happen when a 99,000-pound log truck goes by. That's what the DMV officer told me today. He had stopped that truck. It weighed 99,000 pounds. And I think the difference is we don't pay for 91 roads. We pay for these roads. I'm trying to preserve the investment here for the taxpayers of Rockingham is how this whole thing came up.
Peter?
Shane, in your investigation of this situation, did you ever look at the Orange Book?
Yes.
Did you look at the section 14, which has to do with weight limits?
I don't know the different sections, but yeah.
I have it here.
Yeah.
Section 14 states, the state statute, the state limits for a bridge with a wood floor, wood subfloor, wood stringers, etc.
16,000.
Class 3 or 4 ton highway is 16,000 pounds.
Correct.
Class 2 highways are 24,000 pounds. And no vehicle can exceed a gross weight of 80,000 pounds unless the operator or the owner of the vehicle has completed with complied with the provisions of section 23 VSA section 1400, which I believe is the filing of one of these little boots. Having worked in construction for about 30 years, I'm quite familiar with these lovely little things. It's what they call a special excess weight permit. And it lists all the weight limits that you can get. You've got the money, you can buy as much as you want. It also has registration fees on the back of this for what these gentlemen sitting out here pay for vehicles. I had a nice discussion with Officer Bonet. I don't know if you guys, some of those truckers, I'm sure, are probably familiar with him. He's with the DMV Enforcement Division in this area. He's the one that kind of steered me on the Orange 14, the Orange Book, Section 14. We had a little discussion as far as putting weight limits in on the roads. If you go into the municipal, state of Vermont municipal thing and you look up municipal highways, you can type in a road number, road name, if you know the highway number. Right now, I typed up Rockingham Street, which is down here, Westminster Street, and currently on file with the DMV, there are no limits listed. So nobody's posting any limits on this.
And that's because it's an incorporated village.
Does it make a difference?
It absolutely does. If you look at section 1392 versus section 1930, 1392 versus 1393, it does make a difference, and that's why in the Senate Transportation Committee right now, they're debating, in fact, it's moving forward to eliminate the distinction between town and village in the statutes. So right now, there is no limit other than the state limit. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody knows more than I do on this. It's per state limit because it's an incorporated village. That's 1392 of the statutes. If it was not a village, it would be 24,000 pounds. And Officer Vonay's supervisor was at the Senate Transportation Committee, and he stated to the senators there that, in fact, they go by 1392. In other words, the village goes by the state permits,
And
excuse
who
me,
was-
state highway.
Was that Jake, or who was that?
I don't remember the guy's name.
Big tall guy?
We were all sitting down, but a heck of a nice guy.
Wanna make sure.
No, they're
Nice guy.
helpful, they're helpful as all get out. And, you know, the thing of caution you also threw out was that if you're gonna put limits on trucks, you could be limiting yourself. 'Cause I even tried to call Stan Budzik about school buses if there's exceptions, and Bonet's telling me there are no exceptions for any of these vehicles. So,
We're not banning anyone.
no, I know, I'm just saying, so if you put that on, you know, you could be limiting your municipal trucks coming through town, so.
Well,
But not if they have.
It's gonna take a little bit more research than sitting here tonight and trying to make a
But I
decision.
think one of the recommendations that could come out of this is that, you know, when we give out these permits, a whole fleet can get a permit for $10. And already we provide in those certain conditions, such as the bridges, the wooden bridges are 16,000.
Exactly.
And we have a few others. It could be that in the downtown area, we could specify what those are, no through traffic, and, you know, only local deliveries. And that way, downtown business can conduct business as it has forever. But I think the idea, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the idea of through trucks, just using it as a bypass would be limited. And I mean, I think that would be a good solution, just to allow for that to be a standardized permit provision, much like we have with a few others as well.
But then we have some issues with trucks actually navigating our routes. And I think that's what a lot of people are here. And we know we've got the nice memo from Mr. Gay about, that's great, all nice if we had these roads without these funky turns and sidewalks and cars in the way. But what do we do when we have, you know, the roads that we have in town about some of these areas that it's very difficult for trucks to navigate?
Well, that's not a weight issue. I think that's a
I know, but
size
I mean, we
issue.
have two different things here. We have the weight, if we restrict it for the weight issue, that's not gonna help when we have also problems with navigating through our streets. Deb, you have something?
For clarity, I'd like to know, if Carrie could find it, what the actual motion was that you passed already, so it can be clear about what you intended.
Unless there was another one, Carrie, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was the November 7th motion. Gaetano Pugnano made the motion that the board finalizes the load limit and enforcement of violations and to place the proper signage as previously discussed. Motion was seconded by Cass Wright. Motion passed unanimously. So it was to finalize. We didn't say to make it 24,000, or we weren't specific about
I
signs.
just wanted to be
Yes.
clear what motion you made.
Yeah.
I think there was something
What was
since.
the motion you made on January 30th?
I don't know if there was another one. I don't know if I have the January 30th minutes. January 30th would have been a joint meeting.
joint board.
It was a joint board meeting.
And it was voted unanimous to print the sign and within 2 weeks
Right.
and post them. You
No,
know, I
so
think
to
you need
acquire them.
You need to look at how to redo these intersections so the trucks can safely get on the US highway.
I
So
think
2
we-
weeks is probably a little, you need time to talk with the truckers, all the parties
Right.
involved, bring in E-Trans and have site meetings, and then report to the board what the options are, if there are any. And do everything you can to try and get heavy traffic onto a US highway. I mean, that's what this is about, trying to save a couple $1 million over a course of over 10 years or whatever.
Gary, do you have that June 30th? Thank you.
It's about all these.
Says, Gaetano made the motion to restrict the weight limit on the town's portion of the Class 2 road, the square in Rockingham Street, to the old arch bridge to 24,000 pounds, and to place proper signage at designated locations stating no through truck traffic, and to get these signs within 2 weeks. Motion was seconded by Sue Hammond. Motion passed unanimously.
Yeah, and when,
That the one?
that
That's
was
the
one.
one.
Thank you.
And that's when, you know, we realized that we had gone about this in the wrong way. And two, we should have been having these hearings, a hearing or discussion earlier. And so when Shane called and asked whether he should order the 24,000 signs, I said, let's hold off for a minute. So you can put that on me. I told him to wait. Let's slow down on this a little bit.
But again, in the meantime, we have ordered all those signs that would, would still be accomplishing some of this, but not specific to an
24,000.
ordinance.
And how much have we spent on those signs on that order?
Not a penny. We've ordered them.
Yeah, but how much is it gonna cost? Some of those signs, what, are several $100s a piece? No?
Most expensive would be 91.
We voted to approve the signs, and we haven't spent a dime. We
Well,
already voted
right.
to approve the signs.
Irregardless of that,
We haven't got the signs.
I wanna see how much we're spending on signs, you know?
Okay, yes. Mr. Gay.
Greg Gay, BDR Transport. Along the lines of the discussion on the intersections, I actually agree completely. If you put up signs that said on my ride to work from North Walpole to Westminster, that I had to take it, come across the bridge, drive up to Cumberland Farms, come around, come down Exton Street, it would be, a little bit annoying, but it wouldn't be a problem. But with the truck, it is a problem. It's a safety issue as far as we can't fit on the streets. If you fix the two intersections, we could, but, so I'm not here to take and say that I want to drive through the square or I don't want to drive down Exton Street. I just want our drivers to be able to go through those areas and be safe, and for you to be safe around our trucks.
Yes.
In regards to that, Greg, Shane, have you, has anybody in the town researched that intersection up by Cumberland Farms?
I know there was a transportation study done a bunch of years ago, probably a dozen years ago, where there was some work done, but I'm not aware of anything recently. but I
It's just
know
that
we talked a bit
in
about it.
discussions with my other half here, who had 30 years' experience in zoning, she was saying that you need to do research to see if that road was actually laid out in the town. If it was actually laid out, it would give you the boundaries or the widths and the dimensions.
Of the cut through?
And if there are no dimensions, it reverts, according to statute, to a 3-rod road, which is 50 feet wide, roughly.
Yep.
So you may not have any room to play up there without having the village move all their sewer pump and
We
the
just
pump
spent how
station
many,
and the.
$200,000-$300,000 on that pump, we're not moving it.
Well, and plus you've got a propane tank sitting in the ground, so you've
Right.
got a few things to think about when you're talking about changing that intersection. And I also, Greg, appreciate the letter, by the way. Kind of brings a few things to mind, but I mean, I can understand making that turn on Red Light Hill, having driven school bus for 10, 11 years. No matter how you get on that intersection, if you're coming down that hill and you're trying to make a right-hand turn going to high school, there's always that damn car that's gonna cut right off over there, and I'll tell you, it's a fun intersection to make. It's not, and that, I'm talking to school buses, and that's not as long as a tractor trailer unit.
Yes, in the back.
Just what I was gonna say is Red Light Hill. I'm Hanson Savage, and you were talking about state, the road is good for the state highway weight.
Yeah, by state law, in an incorporated village, it goes by the state highway load limitations.
So that's what it is right now.
According to the statutes and according to Department of Motor Vehicles and their interpretation of them, and they're the guys who write the tickets, that's what it is.
So most of all us guys have tractor trailers that are registered for 80,000 pounds, and I'm sure almost this whole row has got tractor trailers that are good for 99,000 pounds with the permits that we have bought through the state. So we're good to go through the center of town?
I don't know the answer to that question, but, you know, I know that at this time that there was controversy in there are two statutes that are different from one another. And I know that the state has a certain interpretation, and we also have it on the village's books, it's 24,000 pounds. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but I don't think that the state is going to issue you a ticket if you did do that.
Right. So the new signs you got coming saying 24,000 pounds?
We have not ordered any signs that say 24,000 pounds.
Because coming down Red Light Hill and making the turn to go north with the stuff I have is not doable.
Yeah.
That's where you see logging trucks going by.
Yeah, I think, you know, going back over the history, I haven't been here for a while. You know, as Susan had stated earlier, probably shame on us for not taking a step back and taking a look at this and seeing how we need to evaluate and study this. You're talking the radius turns that your tractors would need to make. In past history here, we've had I'm going to call him an entity, a gentleman that came here that tried to push roundabouts. Some of the locations they talked about roundabouts were right here at the head by where the bank used to be across from the Star Hotel, the bottom of the hill. The other place was corner of School and Atkinson, and then they were possibly talking up at the bottom of Red Light Hill. You know, if we'd had those roundabouts now, you'd be like on that back street in Keene trying to get a 40-foot trailer, let alone a 50-foot trailer through there.
Over the top.
So, exactly. I've seen it. I've been there. So, I think with this, you know, the board needs to take a step back, and whether there be some type of study from AOT, or I know Wyndham Regional, I guess, isn't in that capacity, but they have a legitimate issue as far as the safety. There's a legitimate issue as far as truck traffic through the square, but if we're going to ask these people to use other routes, we're going to be looking at maybe redesigning some intersections here, and that's going to cost money, and we all know money's tight. So.
Buying up right-of-ways from people, because
I mean, there's no way I want to come down through town with the trucks, but
Right.
if I'm going to Westminster, I go Atkinson Street. I don't come in. Only time I come down is when I have to negotiate,
Yeah.
you know?
Now, I mean, if you were here,
To go down Red Light Hill, north out of town,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, I'm not an engineer, nor am I prepared to do a road study. This was brought up last summer. As a board, that's what we do. Then we need to take action from there. But someone sitting in the audience there mentioned Henry Street. But you take a left turn and a right turn, puts you back on Route 5 North.
Well, I'd hate to have my house on Henry Street.
Right, I know.
And then
So would
everybody
the,
wants that turned into
right.
91. How would you could make the turn on the other end?
oh, wait, we have to address
I don't know
them.
Henry Street, but.
Excuse me,
One
gentlemen.
at a time.
Sorry, I want to hear from all of you, but the process is that you have to go raise your hand and I'll call on you. So officially, because we have to get notes, or names and everything.
Well,
So,
the
yes.
Commercial traffic, you would think should first default to going through the commercial zones, which would be going through the square. Axon Street is primarily a residential street, but.
It's a state highway.
Still take and run, we can still run that street if we can just get on and off it safely.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, Atkinson Street, Tony James Long. A couple things. This is my first meeting, so I don't want to sound like I'm reinventing the wheel. I haven't been involved in it, but a couple things. There isn't many trucks under 33,000 GVWs. I run an oil truck for a living, just home delivery. That's registered for 33,000. So I think you definitely need to relook at a different side package as far as weight limits.
Okay, Donna?
Local fuel deliveries won't have, won't apply.
And I get that. I'm just saying as far as large trucks, there's not much that's going to fall in that 24,000 GVW range. As far as, I get what these guys with the tractor trailers are saying. It's impossible to make that turn on Red Light Hill to Atkinson Street. If you have loads coming in from New Hampshire, I-beams out of Claremont, they really gotta go through the square if they're heading to Westminster or out to Saxon's River area, west-west. I mean, it's a route they have to take. Redoing something with the pump station would be out of sight price-wise, so I'll sell you the Shell station at 97 Westminster Street going around.
Go ahead.
I just got a question, and I should have checked on this before I got here, because it was, but did any of you gentlemen know, for example, like the Vermont Transit or the Greyhound buses, what they weigh? And then we've got them same buses, which is commercial traffic, driving over our bridges down by the post office and on Canal Street, so. I mean, is that gonna prohibit Greyhound buses coming in here to the depot?
I think they're around 40 to 45,000 because they've gone to tandem axle on the back for the
Right.
most part. You don't see the single axle one
Yeah.
very often anymore.
Right. Just curious, I mean, it's a factor.
Carrie, do you know how many permits we get? Because it goes through you? Yeah.
We usually get probably 35, 40.
35, 40. So it's mainly the local trucking companies? No. It's, I mean, it includes the local trucking companies.
Some of
and-
them.
yeah.
Some of them.
If you get concrete companies, there's one that had how many
We get
different
some
vehicles?
from Brattleboro and, yeah.
And it's a $10 per truck?
$5 for one vehicle, $10 for a fleet.
$10 for a fleet.
And that fleet can be any number of vehicles.
Annual, that's an annual charge?
Annual.
Yeah.
Question on the permit. So those are overweight and over width, right?
Not
Nope,
overweight.
just a special overweight. It's got one right here, Tony.
Okay. So most trucks are already paid that registration fee to cover themselves as far as the weight they're carrying?
Yeah, for the weight and the size of the truck and the axles requirements
It's
that
when
are
they're
in.
carrying an extra heavy load, am I correct saying that?
Yeah,
Then you have to get the overweight permit.
exactly right.
Yeah, okay.
But
Mr.
that's gonna be, that's really, if you only limit the trucks to local deliveries, it doesn't really matter what your weight is. You can't go through at above 24,000 pounds, I believe, is the proposal.
Unless you have a permit.
Unless
that
you have a
allows
permit.
it.
A
If you have
local,
a
overweight
You
permit.
can go through with a truck over 24,000 pounds.
If the
Yeah.
municipal permit indicates that, that you can, you can.
Yeah, this special excess weight permit, I guess they've changed it since I've been doing them, but it does say travel on town highways at any weight above the posted limit requires a separate permit from the town. So, then you go back on the backside, section 10 says, this permit does not authorize movement over town class 2, 3, or 4 highways or the interstate defense highway system. Town permit is required for movement over town highways. The only exception is a milk haulers with 90,000 pounds may operate on the interstate, so.
So Peter, does that mean that an 80,000 pound truck could go through here?
Pardon?
without a permit? Does that mean that an 80,000 pound truck could go through without a permit? Standard tractor trailer? Yeah, I don't know what, is this?
Well, if they post the road, then I imagine you probably have to file for a town permit. There for a fleet, it's a $10 charge, and every one of your trucks have to carry a permit in their
And my
cab.
understanding on to post the weight, that the town or the village would have to submit that by February 10th
Yeah.
to the state government
Yep.
before they could put it in effect for the year.
There's a lot of hoops you gotta go through. I kind of did a little research on this, so it's not a thing that's gonna be a slam dunk decision that's gonna get done. And I think having you guys with some input is gonna help the board get along and get this settled. It's not gonna be a quick thing.
Yes.
And one other point that on the modular home that came through town, they're over width, so they should get a permit from the state to have come through. So either the state messed up or the truck messed up coming through.
And the escort.
Well, I think my understanding of the state law, which is not limitless, is that under section 1400, the state can issue oversized permits.
Right.
They can't issue overweight permits on Class 2, 3, and 4 roads. Over size, they can, and there's no obligation for them to give notice to the community, which is unfortunate.
Andrew?
This is a really quick one. It's long been my observation you really need to go to law school to be able to drive a truck and stay out of trouble with it, as complicated as it all is. Just wanted to see if I could get a clarification on one fuzzy thing that's been running through this entire discussion, and that is, are local deliveries exempted from the weight restrictions up to 80,000 pounds?
Currently,
I mean, if
there's 99,000-pound trucks that come through now, so
I mean,
there's
when
no
you-
restriction.
When you put a restriction in on a town or village road, can an 80,000-pound truck still come and make a delivery specific to a location on that road?
If they have a local permit.
They still need a permit.
Local permit.
So local deliveries are not
And I
exempt.
think what we would, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's some of the discussion here has been to allow in all of our permits, continuation of commerce in the downtown on for local deliveries, for, say quote unquote, go into their trucking facility, but to avoid through traffic. And that's the only thing, my understanding of that the board is interested in doing.
So local deliveries are exempt from the weight restrictions.
There's nothing that I've seen in the state statute that says that, but through the local permitting process that this board authorizes, there can be a provision that says
I
local, local business is not exempt, no, is exempt. You're right.
They get the permit.
I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Savage?
In the past, I've hauled a lot of stuff down to the island for the railroad, logs and dirt and a lot of different things. How are they gonna get in and out?
That's a local delivery.
That is, okay.
What's the weight limit on Bridge Street Bridge?
16,000. Oh, no, excuse me, no, it's 24.
Bridge Street Bridge?
Depot Street is
Not
16.
Depot Street, Bridge Street Bridge.
Bridge Street Bridge is 24.
24,000?
What is the Depot Street Bridge?
16.
16?
And that's the only way to the island, right?
Yeah, it is.
24,000?
Okay, so are there more questions from, yes?
One quick question, I told him, you just pointed over here saying there's a building crack, and what building?
The one right on the corner there.
Canal Street, or?
No, it's the brick building that sells coffee.
Flatiron Building?
Oh, the Flatiron, okay.
Gonna mention names, but
And I mean,
I've watched it. Watched it
my
get,
concern with that, though, is the railway's been going through here for over 100 years, shaking, rattling. I mean, you can't just blame that all on the trucks. I mean, the rail, you sit and pull blows and your silver's rattling on your plate when the trains go through. I mean, it's not fair to throw that on the trucks.
I've watched it when some of those trucks go through. I've watched it. I've watched a brick fall off the building when one of them log trucks went through.
So part of the rail, they had their historical, not sure if I'm gonna call it right, but the rail yard had their historical brick building that was probably 100+ years old, and that collapsed down in their yard, and that was from rail service and their activity, and that building was destroyed.
And probably lack of maintenance.
There was
That
another-
too, I mean, you gotta
That
keep
might
it
be
going.
happening here in town.
There was another question or comment?
Just what I was gonna point out, you walk up and down
Name?
the street and there's tons
We
of
need your
work.
name, sorry, we need your name.
Pete Durgan.
Yeah.
You walk up and down the street, it's all brick, but brick requires maintenance.
My shop is brick, and I'm watching the mortar, and I'm talking to a guy right now currently about, we need to get it pointed up, and that I can watch Amtrak roll through at 5:45, 26, and there's spots you can watch the mortar dust falling out, and it's time to point it up this summer, and it's an expense I don't want to deal with, but that's part of maintaining your 100-year-old brick building.
Yes,
Right
Mr.
across
Savage?
the street by the hardware store. We're parked right there, and we were looking at all the bricks, like from eye level down. Put your finger right into it. But I don't think it's just traffic, or just trains, or just whatever. I think a lot of this old stuff needs maintenance.
Elements, weather.
Yeah.
Okay, Deb,
My question is, all of this appears to be that you're gonna renege on the two motions that you made in November and January. That's what I'm seeing here. And what I wanna know is if the board has any intention of supporting the precious tax dollars that are put in by the people who live in this town to support our roads, of the small piece of area that goes down through our square. And yes, our building infrastructure is old. It is a historic village. Why do we want to see it crumbling down? We know as well as anyone else that many people have no money to put into investing in the repair of all of their buildings. What are you going to do to help preserve what we have right now?
I don't know if we are gonna renege. I mean, I think it's open for further discussion.
I think it needs more looking into it, and more discussion.
Yeah, I don't think anyone up here is, I think we have concerns, so these folks can work and we can preserve. And two more items, we're gonna talk about how much money we're about to spend. Taxpayers who live here's money. We're trying to find a solution. If we can get intersections to accommodate the change, that's what we're looking for. Right now, it can't be done. They can't make the corners. We're not done. We're trying to make it all work.
But I want to hear from you because we're hearing a lot from the trucking industry. But I want to hear what your board's plan is.
Well, we have to listen to their concerns. We're trying to make it happen so we can eliminate the concerns we've discussed, but so that everyone has an option.
One more, yep.
Yeah, I think it is a good discussion, and I think you need to think it through. You really need to come up with a plan. You need to work with trucking companies. You need to reach out, UVM, civil engineering, DOT, whoever, and have site committees, work it out, and come back to the board with a real proposal, if there is one. But it is a two-way discussion, so while you're listening to the truckers can listen to us. You know, and the discussion's focused around tractor trailers. Obviously, you gotta do something at the intersections before you can start routing tractor trailers safely on a US highway, which is what Atkinson Street is. It's a designated truck route, it's a truck-safe route, US highways. But the other discussion here about weight and road impact, every state in the union has a Department of Transportation does a comprehensive engineering study in order to forecast what the costs are gonna be because of heavy truck damage. The calculus is in. It's like 400 times the damage that heavy trucks do compared to personal vehicles. And the discussion here is on tractor trailers, but the other part of this whole argument is the dump trucks. The guy looked them up, used dump trucks. GVW, some of these are 81,000 with the tag axle. And so you're talking about the same amount of weight on less wheels, which means more impact. Now, you're gonna pave the square. I know it's on the agenda later, but you can toss out that number. You're looking at what it's gonna cost to redesign these intersections. Say it's $50,000 or $100,000, you're gonna pay $1 million to pave the square. And if the trucks drive on it, all these gravel trucks get a job within the area, they're running gravel through the square all day long in the summer, okay? You're gonna have to repave it again in 5 years. But if you keep as many trucks as you can off of there, within reason, maybe you don't have to pave every 5 years, maybe you can get 15 years out of the road and you're gonna save $3 million. You spent an hour last week, okay, equivalent over $5,000. This is in the millions of dollars to consider. Urge a realistic, thoughtful process to come up with a real solution. And while we're here tonight, you can appeal to the truckers, the contractors in the area, to urge their operators, who I'm sure are all eminently qualified, and I respect them all for it, to whenever possible, ask them to use the US highway, because the state maintains that. The local town people maintain the square. It's a courtesy. It's being a good neighbor.
All right, thanks, Joel, for that. And yeah, I mean, I think that is why we're having this discussion, is to figure out what are the next options. And as I said, we've kind of gone on this backwards by not having this discussion first, and we're kind of doing this backtrack. So that is all on us as a board. right here.
Could I suggest perhaps forming a committee? This is too big a group to do this kind of thing. You've heard the concerns, 1 or 2 selectmen, 1 or 2 trucking guys, 1 or 2 public people. And, you know, if we have to call the legislatures, do a little study, write out the memorandum with what the concerns are and proposals for solution. But it won't happen in this big a crowd. We need a smaller group, a working committee.
Mr. Jones? James?
So I'd like to see you guys retract on your motion until that study or whatever you choose to do, so you can come up with a realistic weight. As far as the square and getting trucks through, there's a couple simple solutions. We had a small fire in the Polish Club basement, I don't know, a couple months ago. We couldn't get the ladder truck from Rockingham Street down to Canal Street because the cars were parked too far up. There's always been a couple open slots that the cars were not allowed to park there. That's gonna be an issue for anybody trying to go around there if you have cars parked there. Vice versa, up on Rockingham Street, the corner building, that's gonna be, I guess, a coffee shop. On the Rockingham Street side, if you have 2 or 3 spots there that are vacant or left empty where that's not parking, that's going to widen that bottleneck. Maybe you've already discussed that, I don't know. The other thing, I mean, we're talking taxpayers. I think everybody here, I think, not just truckers, but I believe everyone here is taxpayers to this community.
And good size ones.
And I know I pay a lot of money to this community in my taxes. I know Coda's pays 3 times more than I do, Kelly. So, and her trucks go through the square, and rightly so.
No,
Yes, you're all set.
I just was gonna point out that we're all taxpayers, and we pay a lot of taxes on trucks that go to the state.
Registration fees. I mean, we're paying
That-
thousands.
That, I mean, as we are looking at paving downtown, I mean, that has been suggested to me as well, is looking, we hate to take away parking from local businesses too. We have that issue, but that is part of the problem as well, is where cars are parked and trying to, you know, when you do have to get vehicles through town. And,
Never mind
you know, like a,
18-wheelers when it's
like
just standard
a,
cars and you can't get a ladder truck through there, and
Yeah.
some because the ladder truck's oversized. I'd have to talk to the driver on the truck that night, but I believe it took him 3 attempts to pull up, back up, pull up, and usually we can swing that corner pretty easy. My book says it's unacceptable. That's becoming a
That's-
hazard, a
that's-
safety issue.
that is a safety issue that we have to consider. Yeah.
I would like to concur with Lori here that if we could, I think we said at the beginning that we wanted to be part of the solution, that if we could form a small committee to help in any way with community members, people in the transportation industry, somebody from the board, to be able to have a working committee so we can get the right information and do the right thing for the town.
What does the board think about that?
I'd be willing to volunteer to be on
I
that
agree
committee.
with that.
That's a good idea.
Just one more note on the safety issue too. It's very dangerous right now to be sending the trucks around these intersections, absolutely. But there's also a safety concern about these tractor trailers going through the square. It's not the local guys, okay? They got good drivers. It's the national carriers with the condo cabs, okay? Those guys run in teams. There's an instructor and a student, okay? And if the instructor is on his mandatory sleep break in his bunk, that leaves the student, who could only have been driving for a week, to navigate those trucks through the square. Now, I'm willing to bet one of those trucks that got stuck square 3 months ago was probably a student.
All right.
I know, I was a student, I
Okay.
did all this.
I
So,
think, I mean, unless there's some new.
There's
I
a
think-
lot of,
I think we're.
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, unless, thanks.
through committee.
Yes, Gary.
Yeah, hi, Gary Fox, Development Director. Sounds like one of the linchpins to moving forward is the intersections, and the V-Trans, the local garages, sometimes have funds to put towards local projects, and a scoping study on the intersections might be something they could do in a shorter time frame. Their resources and engineers.
And there is some Wyndham Regional funding at times
Yeah, well,
too. for
they
things.
can do,
Traffic study.
well, yeah, they can do traffic counts and class counts, so you can figure out how many vehicles and speeds and all that sort of thing. But I think insofar as looking at the dimensions and the configurations of our intersections, we would need a traffic engineer to be doing that. There was a study done, as I mentioned, roughly a dozen or so years ago where that was done, so there's some base plan work that we can work off of. And actually, some of the digital mapping that we have is quite accurate, and it can be helpful with that as well. But I think we would have to bring on board a traffic engineer. We do have some funding in the, we have funds in the highway fund that could take care of that, and I'll look further into it. We are working with that engineer right now on our downtown sidewalks, so we're eating up a little bit of that now. But I think we have roughly $24,000 in the budget for engineering.
Okay, so a committee, I think the board agrees, need a motion to
Yes.
form a committee? Yeah.
Advertise for it.
Advertise for it?
You may want to have someone from the trustees.
Have someone from the trustees, one, or select board?
Okay, Tom.
Okay, Tommy. All right, so you'll advertise for the committee, and we can appoint that at the next meeting? Is that how we go about this procedurally?
If any of the drivers out there, anybody wants to be on that committee, just call Shane or somebody, leave me know your name so we know who who wants to be on it. I mean, some of you guys may not have time to be on it, but I think it'd be interesting to see how many of you guys are really interested in going on it.
Yeah, email Carrie,
Yep.
or call Carrie. And any pedestrians as well who are interested?
That's a good idea.
Who see the streets from that perspective, I think is also helpful.
You should be on it.
Would you like a planning commissioner on it?
I think, we will need somebody who's gonna be able to go and look at these road layouts. I mean, maybe that's
Chuck?
I mean,
Maybe you could do it with overlays or something, I don't know.
Chuck,
so.
He's the man to do it.
That's my background, I'm trying to put it behind me. Sure.
All right, anything else? So we will email Carrie if you are interested in being part of the committee, and we will make a decision on who will be on that committee at the next.
Just want to mention that town of Brattleboro has a traffic safety committee, and it's an ongoing committee that deals with traffic things over.
That might be.
The village had one at one point here.
Yeah, it might be
some
something
years back.
to
Yeah.
emulate or.
The other comment I
Yes.
want to make is, I know, and some of you guys can tell me, but since this whole conversation came up right after the first of the year or thereabouts, my personal observation is the ones that are able to reroute and not come through the square have been going down Atkinson Street. So they're making the effort long before we even kicked it in. So I think that's notable for you guys. I
And then
appreciate
just,
that.
Yeah, I had
proceed-
stopped by some time ago, and we had talked about that, and BDR's been pretty good about
I
it.
mean, this came up like, not to this extent, but approximately, I believe, 3 years ago. And that's what happened. We contacted the trucking companies. We all worked together, and it happened. It alleviated some of the traffic through the square. And, you know,
Okay, and
now
then
we-
yeah, procedurally, do we need to do something about that vote on the 24th?
About what?
About the vote on the 31st of January, which had a time
You can,
limit?
if you elect it. I mean,
Or do we just let it
so
continue?
make a motion.
I almost think you'd have to make a motion to rescind. the
No,
vote.
we just, no.
I think, don't you have to though?
Well, it had a time frame. That's the thing, it had a time frame of 2 weeks.
But it wasn't done.
Yeah, it would have to be registered by the, it has to be registered with the state by the
Make a
February
motion
10th.
to take no action.
I think,
Just I would rescind the vote taken on January 30th.
I'm sorry?
I would rescind the vote taken on January 30th.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that the Rockingham Select Board rescind the vote in reference to the signage and weight limits, et cetera, for truck traffic and all related from
I have a
the
question.
On
January 30th.
From what
January 30th.
So Susan, I have a question. Since I was not on the board at that time and neither was Peter, do we not vote?
No, it doesn't
You
matter.
can-
You're on the
we
board
can
now.
go?
You can
Okay.
vote, yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Is there a second?
I'll second it with the amendment that it's rescinded until we get further information to.
That's my intent, yeah.
Okay, well, you
I
didn't say
accept
that, but I
Yeah.
just wanted, so that
Sure.
you know, we're gonna rescind it until we get the information and the committee comes back and decide
Sure.
a plan of action.
And we're in discussion on this?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to point out, this was brought up last summer, so it's not like this was brought up January 1st.
Wheels of government.
All right. The amendment? You agree with the
Yes.
amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll be in touch.
No
Thank-
opposed.
You put one opposed. Thank you all for coming out.
Well, they may want to switch to the weight
Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, there, we are going to discuss Essex. Right.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're discussing. Okay.
What's your observation? Do you monitor trucks in town?
Yeah, I monitor speed.
Kelly, the
When-
second, the next discussion is weight limit permits, which I didn't realize that we're also discussing that. So I don't know if anyone wants to stick around for that part of the discussion. I'm not sure.
Chuck's,
Well, we didn't send them out this year.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry. Yep.
Having fun.
All right, moving on. Sorry about that. I kind of didn't realize that the next is to discuss excess weight limit permits. Shane, what is the, what's the discussion here?
Well, this is on an annual basis, the excess weight permits are issued, and we do have some stock conditions, as I mentioned earlier, 16,000 pounds on the specified bridges. And Carrie, what are some of the others? Because you review these more than I do, and Mike, you do as well.
Covered bridges.
And some other,
I approved the overweight permits based upon the orange book, what it says in there.
Yeah.
And the restrictions, I have no permits for any covered bridges.
Yep.
They're
Whatever bridges are
dependent on the
restricted, like
number of
the-
axles
Yeah.
to the number of, the amount
Yeah.
of weight.
so one of
The
the,
most I think we approve is 80.
Yeah.
80.
and it was, dependent upon what the discussion was going to come out of this. The idea, as I mentioned earlier, would be to include another condition related to the downtown, and that no through trucking, that sort of thing.
Yeah, you can put exceptions in there, yeah, that's what we always used to do, you know. The common terminology was just except on roads posted for less, and that's basically what you used to write in there.
Mhm.
And then we'd go to the state and they would approve it, and then you'd get your town permit and do the same nomenclature on that, same verbiage, and
We get a lot of requests for over 80,000, but I
We don't approve them.
can't sign off on that. Everything's out of, like you said, stated earlier, based upon state orange book.
We get some requests for 99.
Yeah.
But
110.
Mike doesn't approve those. We
So,
cross
I mean,
it out
on all
with 80.
permits, we could.
They come through here. The DMV guy pulled the truck over that weighed 99,000 pounds. He said he wasn't doing anything wrong. So is it,
Permit for it.
This is class one, so you can't.
is it 80,000 pounds through?
No, it's State
Atkinson's
Road
class
is
one.
99.
What's this?
Well, this isn't a state road.
So what, we're talking about approving permits over 80,000 pounds. Is that the discussion?
That's for town permits. This here is legal for state road.
Right, so we're already leaving our state permits here.
This is a
Square
state road now?
is considered a state road, Shane?
Because it's incorporated.
Because
Because
it's,
it's
a-
incorporated.
because it's an
Here we
incorporated
go, back to
village,
that.
it's per the state highway system.
We're already permitted.
And it's
Right.
permitted for 99,000 pounds is permissible with a permit,
Whatever the state gives.
whatever the
Whatever the
state.
state gives them.
Okay, that's what the DMV officer told me as well. So what, I'm wondering what this discussion is about that we're having.
It depends
Well, it
on what.
depends on other roads as well. I mean, on any other class 2 or, 2, 3, or 4 road in the community, we issue those
Yeah.
permits. But again, it was going to depend on, again, we already have it in the local books in the village
Right.
ordinance that is 24. But it was just, I wanted to see if before those permits are issued, which by March 31st, there was anything else the board wanted to include in there for insofar as conditions would be concerned.
So at this point, we could put other conditions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you said there's some legislative activity going on this where you went up for the hearing?
Yes, and the latest information was that on last Friday, the Senate Transportation Committee did agree that to exclude incorporated villages from that law, so that 24,000 would be the law. My understanding is it wouldn't be in effect until next January. That's just with the draft of the statute says at this point.
So that's something you gentlemen and ladies may want to keep in mind if you have legislators that you contact, since you do pay a huge chunk of change.
So that.
Well, yeah, just to let you know, the Trucking Association was in the room at that, as
Right.
well as the Fuel Dealers Association was in the room on that.
So if that goes into effect, then.
24,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And then it would be the time to issue permits, local permits with a condition that says over 24 is okay in the downtown for local delivery and local business only.
While you were at this hearing, was there any discussion of how these things occur in Woodstock? Because I hear the
Woodstock,
activity in Woodstock.
in the state statutes, again, I'm no expert, but there's the Woodstock exemption. And first of all, it's a class 1, it's Route 4 going
Right.
through. That's a state highway.
Yeah.
And that's an exemption, and I think it's for oversized because they have that, a pretty tight turn, right, as you're heading into.
Maple Fields.
And
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, they approached the legislature back in time and sort of got this exclusivity legislation as alternate.
That's my understanding.
Right.
I wouldn't know.
Overweight is fine, but oversized is
Right.
different.
Right, because,
In
yeah,
Woodstock.
yes, because of that tight corner there.
Okay, so at this point, we don't have to do anything with our
Right, but I
local
just want,
permit, correct?
we'll be issuing permits for those who request. And, obviously, the wooden bridges are an issue, and we exclude those, limit those to 16,000. Is that right, Mike? 16? Wooden bridges, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them.
And
We've got a couple
I
at
see.
16, we've got one at 8.
Okay. And so the time really to look at this is see what happens with the legislature, and then we may have to look at our permit
Mhm.
again.
But the town can always
Add exemption.
request that a different weight limit, but that is subject to approval by the agency, transportation.
I think because the town can make its decision, that permit process should be part of what the committee
Yes,
should
looks at.
is going to include and as it looks at. Because once they design something really good, maybe permits could be a little harder to get.
Anything else on the permits then? So right now, if you haven't applied for your permit, you have till March, no, when? March 31st?
Yeah, we did get some that were not done on our application, so I think we're contacting those who put in the wrong kind of application and, send them a copy of what we would expect. And
No, they're really not wrong, they just don't have some of our language, which we can just send back with the permit.
okay, attach it as a condition.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything further? All right.
But our permit will be up on the website tomorrow morning,
Okay. All right.
under highway.
Thank you. Select Board authorization for posting of roads. That's the next on the agenda.
Yeah, that's done annually. And that's just the annual posting for, mud season, I guess.
Yeah. And have we posted our roads all?
They're posted.
They're posted. They have been several weeks, right?
3 weeks now.
3 weeks now.
Yeah, but this is if the board needs to acknowledge them and authorize posting.
The only formality.
And then just for people to know that if there is people who have to make fuel deliveries and whatnot, they contact.
They're good.
They call you. And
Really,
the same with
local
garbage?
guys are really good, yeah.
Yeah.
So we need a motion for that, do we?
Yep.
I'll make the motion that the select board authorize the posting of roads in accordance with 19 VSA sections 1109 through 1110.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Well, okay.
Moving right on.
Moving along. All right, Sir, award paving bid. That's the next thing on the
Take
agenda.
one, this is a larger version. It's just, everybody has in front of them, I believe, information on the downtown paving bids. A larger version of the matrix being sent around so you can actually read it.
It's the same as that one, it's just bigger.
We went out to bid, put out an invitation to bid some time ago, and then we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting. At that pre-bid meeting, we had several companies represented there, and based upon that meeting, we reworked the invitation to bid, and we sent out an addendum. And in response to that addendum, last Friday, we received 3 bids, and this is a bid tabulation of them. And you'll recall, prior to us sending out that addendum, we had a discussion about nighttime work and whether or not that would not only save us money, but make for a faster, quicker project and potentially better quality, particularly having to do with the paving. I want to make the board aware that we found that there was a inconsistency in the bidding. One of the firms that showed up at the pre-bid meeting did not include an email address on there. And so when I was responding to everyone saying we're going to have, another, an addendum and all that, I did not include that vendor. It was not on purpose. I just was looking at email addresses. I didn't see one, so I didn't send it out. Further complicating is that a week or so later, they did send to Kerry an email saying that they were expecting an addendum and it hasn't been issued yet. Please send it to me. She sent that to me. It got buried in my email. I never saw it, and that's on me. So we have an inconsistency. We have one vendor who did attend the pre-bid, did not fill out the form properly, the information properly, but they did follow up, and so we did not get the addendum in the end and did not know when to bid. The others did, and their prices have been revealed. I did speak to the town attorney. He's indicating that there's no statutory obligation to rebid this. And also the fact that, again, that the others' prices are public would be problematic to them from a business standpoint. The question is, at this point, do we go with the bids that we have, or do we rebid the project? And to the extent that I mixed things up, I apologize. That sort of stuff happens, and I'm embarrassed that it did, but there was certainly nothing. It was Springfield Paving, frankly, and there's no intention whatsoever to leave them out of it. But it's really the board's decision. The town attorney has indicated that it's perfectly fine to go forward. I did ask, because this is funded by the state, I asked the state if they had any issues with it. They said they have no control of our bidding process. As long as we get competitive bids, we're good to go. However, they said if it was them, they would rebid it. My recommendation is that we not rebid. We go with the bids that we received. We chalk it up to a mistake made by not only the contractor, but the municipal manager. We do have other projects scheduled for this summer that will be bidding out, and they can certainly bid on those. And for the mistake, I apologize.
Is there a mandatory time frame for rebidding?
What do you mean?
Like, they have to have 30 days or 20 days?
No, we could put it out to bid tomorrow, but we would want to have a pre-bid, another pre-bid conference, and we could turn this around in 3 weeks, but at the same time, we have 3 vendors who have shown their cards, basically, and it's not fair to them.
Exactly.
Mike?
I totally agree with Shane. It's unfortunate that this vendor didn't receive the information, but it's not fair to the vendor that got the low bid. It's not fair to him because, as Shane said, the numbers are out there. So he could come in on a lot lower than what they have, and it isn't fair to him, so it is unfortunate. But I don't recommend we rebid it back out, go with what we have.
Peter?
I think we just move forward and just award a bid that based on the bidders that are
I agree.
presented. Agree with Shane, the numbers are out there, so I mean, you've kind of laid the cards on the table, so
Yeah,
anybody
and
can
I-
undercut at this point, and
Yeah, I feel bad about it, because Springfield Paving's a perfect, very good company, excellent reputation, and they could have given us even better bid, but, they blew it, I blew it. It's just, that happens sometimes, and please, press, don't mention that. That I blew it. I fessed up like that. No, it's not off the record, but the truth is the truth, and that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Any other thoughts from the board? Okay, so we'll look at the bids.
Sure.
Yeah, again, we received bids from Basin Brothers Trucking, Mitchell Sand and Gravel, and Vermont Roadworks LLC, WBE. And we bid it out in 2 different ways, or 4 different ways, actually. Sections 1 through 6 was just the square area up to, from in front of this building up to Church Street. That was sections 1 through 6, and that's the top part of the page. Then we added to that, section 7, which is up Old Terrace up to the town line, if I'm not mistaken.
Front Street to Pleasant and
Yeah.
121.
And we bid it also with daytime work only for everything, and then also nighttime work allowed. The nighttime work allowed would not be up on Old Terrace, because it's a residential neighborhood. The idea would be not to have that as night work there. And of course, I discussed in the past that we have there's a limitation on when the work can happen, so that we're avoiding alumni and old home days. So it's in between those two for the downtown portion.
What are those dates? June
18th to
First week.
the August 2nd. I don't have,
Father's Day to the first weekend in
it's
August.
in the RFP. Hold on one second. Sections 1 through June 18 to July 30. The other section, Old Terrace area, May 14 to August 15. That's pretty wide open. And the idea, we also bid it out that they would be able to use the Bridge Street, the bottom part of the Bridge Street parking lot for staging area free of charge, so as to keep our costs down.
Yes, Peter?
kind of lost me there when you said that the paving on section 6 goes to Church Street, which is top of the hill.
Yes.
So are we gonna pave from there up to the intersection, then up?
No.
So you're not gonna touch the rest of Westminster Street?
Correct. We are not going to. It's not
And
part of
why
the
is
bid.
that?
Cost.
Well, originally cost, and we were
I've
trying
seen the
to.
map, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and we could always add it on potentially, but we didn't know what the costs were gonna be. We got some pricing last year, we only had a single bidder. We didn't know what the costs were gonna be. We went for the essentials, if you will, just to Church Street, and then up over the hill is where it's particularly bad. And we just didn't know price-wise. We could always ask what they'll do additional work for.
What's the distance of that, Mike?
From Church Street to Athens? Like 1,200 feet, around there.
500 yards?
Yeah, I don't recall.
So we could sort of guesstimate how much that would be? Well, we don't
Depends
know
on
how
what the
many
work
culverts-
is. I mean, if
Yeah,
it's,
we don't
is
know how
it
many culverts
overlay
and all
or
that.
grinding, or, it depends on what has to
Yeah,
get
it would be
done.
the same thing, it would be a mill and pave.
Mill and paving.
It just seems odd that we leave a section.
Well, it's not as bad as the other two.
I know it's
areas.
not as bad, but if
Yeah,
you
we
don't
have
get
some
it
other-
now,
We have other areas that.
oh, I
need
know,
some
I
attention.
know there's other areas.
Yeah, we're looking at sections.
Well, originally, we didn't think we were gonna have enough money to do
Well,
up
I
Old Terrace.
understand the money end of it, like, I know.
Well, that's why we didn't even know if we could do Old Terrace. That's why
That's why it was an
always
act.
stopping at Church Place.
Well, actually, wasn't it commented that we could go all the way to the Westminster line for the same amount of money, if not less, is the way I recall it.
But not,
we were hoping, I mean, but.
Right, and I
you know,
believe that's the way
Mike
it
got
came
some
back.
pricing
No, that's-
last year.
I
It
don't think
didn't-
it included that.
No?
No. That section's
It always
pretty good.
stopped right there.
That section's pretty good from the Westminster line out past, you're talking
Right
from
up
Oak
to-
Street out to the Westminster
Yes.
line out to the tomb, that section's pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it needs anything right now.
We're trying to get the essentials.
That's right.
And there are others, again, other places, Main Street, Saxons River, Pleasant Street, Saxons River, a lot of
Yeah.
different places need work. You recall there was a petition from quite a few people in Saxons River last year. I think
Right.
we owe it to them to address that.
I don't recall the reason. We did that Oak Street out to the tomb here within the last 15 years. I don't
Yeah.
recall why we did it, but that had been done and the rest of it had not.
Now, since this paving topic came up, and I know we've already gone through the budget, but we do have a substantial reserve. I'd heard a lot back from, especially out polling day, from select individuals on Grizzle Drive.
Yeah.
Now, I know we had talked at one point, total reconstruction, which I believe was estimated at 2.7 million. Before we get into the village and doing water and sewer up there, which I can tell you probably ain't gonna happen.
Water's good.
Is there anything, in my recollection from being here a few years ago on this board here, was maybe we could buy 10 to 15 years or 12 years with a skim coat,
Yeah.
and if we did some drainage upgrade.
Yeah.
Any idea what that may cost?
I don't. That's something we were gonna, once we're gonna go through the RSMS, road
Yeah.
evaluation.
I'd like,
And then we can decide from there what and when we
Yeah.
wanna do it.
right,
But yeah, we initially did that. It was going to be, they can get us by for 5 years, we got close to 14 out of it. So that certainly is doable.
I'd like
But
to,
you definitely
Yeah.
gotta do some drainage first, definitely.
I think it would behoove this board to entertain that idea.
Yeah, well,
That's
let's
all for
discuss that
discussion.
at another,
Okay.
we'll schedule
We
a
need to
time where we
review
can
that.
get,
We need to review the
review it, get
RSMS.
Everett to come in and review it, okay. But,
I would hope that when we're doing the paving down there, especially towards Bridge Street, that they're gonna fix that hydrant issue that's down there by the post office. Cause that's all beat up over there.
It's getting
Yanked
pulled.
out,
Coming out.
Right.
Coming out.
We originally were gonna replace that, but the fire department's looked at it and determined that they don't need it, so we're gonna cut it and cap it.
Okay.
okay, so
I
back
don't
to
have
the
a problem, I
bid.
just, you know,
Back to the
seems a
bid.
shame we're gonna pave it and 2 weeks later
Well,
decide, oh, we gotta dig it
No,
up,
we
put
don't
it back.
need
Well, we got a price to do that, I mean, to
We're famous for doing that around here.
We did get
Happened a lot.
Peter, we did get a price for replacing the whole shebang. It was gonna be very expensive, and that's why we revisited to see if it really was essential, and it's determined not to be.
Okay, back to the bid.
Again, so then we bid it, again, daytime work and then allowance for nighttime work. And one of the firms did not put in a nighttime bid. And as you can see in this, where it says low in yellow, those are the low bids for the two different proposals. And so what Mike and our recommendation is to go with the bid for sections 1 through 7 with nighttime work. The bid coming from Basin Brothers Trucking at $299,170. And I think I also mentioned to the board that we had adequate funds to do that. Obviously, the state is giving us $175,000. And in our budget, we brought forward, I think it was $12,000 from last year. We have $252,000 in this budget. And plus the board the voters just put in $50,000 into a reserve fund, which we don't even need to touch at this point. So we have adequate funds to do this.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the bid.
Madam Chairman, I make the motion that we accept the low bid of Basin Brothers Trucking to do sections 1 through 7.
Including nighttime, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it includes that.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And authorize the manager to execute any documents
Authorize the manager,
necessary
I
to...
accept the amendment.
So, section 7 won't be done at night, right?
Section 7 will not be done at night.
Is there a footage on that? Just for,
Yes, in the,
pretty big, right?
in the bid pack.
All the way to west,
Oak Street. I'm sorry. Pleasant Street. Oak Hill Cemetery. it splits 121 Pleasant Street.
That's where it's gonna stop?
Where they going, to West Street, Mike, or beyond West Street?
Beyond, right to Pleasant Street.
Oh, right,
Pleasant
okay.
Street and 121.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, I don't recall what we did, but from that section out to the Westminster line, we did, I want to say it was sewer. Probably maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Time just escapes me, but that's why that's in better condition than the rest of the road. So,
Just, section 7 is 1,075 feet
I was back when Mo was here, so what's that?
by 34 feet.
Okay, anything further from the bids? All right,
Can we discuss the sidewalks? Is that now the right time to do that? In reference to this portion?
It's related to it.
Because that has to be done before the paving,
the sidewalks.
Some of it has to.
some of it, and there's no curbing in front of the Peoples, which needs to happen before paving.
It should happen, doesn't need to, but we have spare granite. It's the only location in the square that doesn't have any, so it's a good opportunity to make that happen.
It's a pretty good idea.
It needs to.
Needs,
And there's other areas where we may have to lower curbing to allow for proper drainage of the new sidewalk.
right.
Those are yet to be determined. We have an engineer working on it, right?
Yep.
Across from your business, that needs to be done before the paving. That sidewalk along the parking lot, that needs to be done. The access from the Flatiron over through to the YMCA, those two areas need to be done.
One of the thoughts we had.
Before paving,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
So we need to
We've got an engineer working on it.
figure out how much it's gonna cost and how much we're gonna do.
And what you said the engineer's working
Yeah,
on
we
that
have an
right now.
engineer working on that, and we're looking to have it engineered in sections, so that, some part up, like the hula cat up that way doesn't need necessarily be done, because it's so little use at this time. One of the thoughts we had for the parking lot across the way from your place is, right now, there's a sidewalk that runs up, between the parking lot and the road. One thought might be to actually put it on the backside of that parking area, so that people aren't in a situation where a vehicle could be backing into them.
Shane, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, specifically up in that section through the hula cat, because I've looked at that.
Yep.
It looks like possibility, eventually, it looks bad to me. It looks like eventually there's going to be an erosion or a water drainage problem there.
Something's
For one,
happened there.
it is also the entrance to the square.
Yep.
And I think it'd be a shame to have doing curbing in front of People's Bank and doing sidewalk in front of his business, not to do anything up there in front of the hula cat on that sidewalk.
Well, we're gonna design it in sections, and I guess we could bid it out in sections and see
Yeah.
where the money lands. I think.
Okay, Tom, you got something?
Well, I think we've got the money there to do it. We ought to take the initiative.
I was gonna recommend not doing the sidewalk in front of my section because it doesn't need it, and looking at sidewalks that do need it, there's a lot more sidewalks that need it more than Hula Cat and the section from H&R Block up. There's a lot more attention that needs to be addressed.
And the
Just because we're
engineer's-
paving doesn't mean we have to replace the sidewalks.
The engineer is looking at all the whole square, or the whole section?
Not the whole square, but from in front of the bank, all the way up to church, and from the Flatiron up to just past the hula cat. That's what we're looking at, shooting levels and things like that. And we could bid it out in sections.
I mean, what I'm looking at to it, aside from, I think it's a requirement there. It's your entrance to your square.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the exit out of the square. It's aesthetically, that's what people are gonna see.
I'm not disputing that. We're designing it, and it just.
No, I'm just.
Well, we'll get the numbers, and I think we'll revisit this when we get the numbers and have actual.
You don't want to come in a couple of years, start cutting all that new
Yeah.
pavement just to do
Right.
sidewalks.
Yep.
You gotta decide if you want to do it now when we do the pavement project, or you wait till we do something in the square later on.
I mean, ample monies have been put in
What-
this
which-
year for sidewalks.
It involves
that-
cutting the pavement to
Yeah.
reset that curbing.
And now's the time to do it.
Which curbing?
With the curbing,
Well, People's Bank for one,
yeah.
and from the Flatiron across the road,
Right.
that's gotta be cut out.
Yeah, across the road, the
Sidewalk
handicap access
across
is,
from your business.
it doesn't meet code by any means.
And whatever.
That sidewalk's in horrible condition.
Yeah.
By her.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of doing that part.
Yeah.
On the other side of the street, I don't think it is, and I was told the curbing didn't have to be touched
Where?
in front of my shop. On the other side, it's bad.
He's gonna do some elevations. Some of that tips back toward the building, so it's not draining to the street, it's draining back toward the buildings.
And that's not.
So therefore, the curbing would have to be reset and the new sidewalk would slope
Yeah.
away.
And when will
That's
we get?
what- I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
And that's why we have an engineer looking into it. I got really looking at it and talked to Shane about it.
Okay.
We really need, we don't want to put back what we have and have it not work, and then with puddles.
And when will we get that engineer's report?
He's gonna,
He said
we got something today, he's gonna work with DiBernardo's
Yeah.
just to get. some-
Thursday, they're coming in and do some, they're coming in
Yeah, they were
survey
shooting
Thursday.
things on Thursday.
Yep, Thursday.
I won't be here that day, but yeah, they're shooting elevations that day.
So we should have hopefully something in the
Soon.
next couple weeks?
I would say
Oh, yeah.
soon.
We've asked them to expedite it.
Okay. So we can look at that and have numbers, and we can really make some decisions.
Right.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Not on that?
Zoning, planning, Chuck. Development Review Board appointment. Finally
Thank
here.
So, just talking about our history, we established a planning commission. I have some notes. I gave you those notes. You just kind of follow along with me on that one page for Randy Vondel and myself. When we established the planning commission, we kind of formalized the process that's been happening informally for years, in that the planning commissioners solicit candidates and make recommendations to the select board, which is the ultimate authority for appointing any position in our town. But having that extra process, I think, is well served. So the specific language is to recruit volunteers to fill vacancies on the planning commission and development review board, and present those recommended applicants to the select board for appointment. Alan Lacombe, moving out of town, resigns his position in January, and he creates 2 vacancies. So this is kind of our first time filling vacancies using this formalized model. The first one is a planning commission term that begun in July 1st, 2017, and ends June 30th. The other vacancy is on the Development Review Board, July 1st to December 1st, 2020. Here with us, if Lori wants to speak, our first candidate is Leah Clark. She is at a school function as we speak, so she's unable to attend. But we were able to work with a young woman, very professional, and very interested in municipal government. I think is a very well-qualified candidate to serve out these remaining months and complete Alan Lacombe's vacancy. We would solicit for another planning commissioner for the next 3-year term. Lori, is there anything you want to say?
Well, just that Leah Clark, she's a great kid. Her dad teaches at the high school, and her daughters or her sister rather, is in college now, and my kids babysat these kids. So I'll sit right with her and be her mentor, and she's considering doing this, facing her senior project at the high school, Belton Falls High School, on her experience in the last few months. So I think she'd consider, should be a good asset.
I don't know if anybody else knows.
Yeah, it was in the packet,
Right there.
Peter.
Leah's primary job is going to be really teaching us old people how to, keep the young folks in town, what is important to young people, and as we're updating the town plan, I think her niche in these few months that she will serve in this role, I think is just going to be critical to us having that perspective at the table. So that is Leah Clark. The second one, Archie Gleason, he's here in attendance, can answer any of your questions. He does not require any introduction. As a teacher of truck drivers, you'll notice he was conspicuously absent during the conversation.
No, he was here.
But-
He was standing at the
He was
door.
hiding. So yeah, his lack of participation, I think, really showcases the intelligence he'll bring to the process in municipal service. I'm very excited to have Archie. And I'm going to tell you that he was my first, one of the things I have to do is, if anybody builds in the flood hazard area, I've got to certify that. And it was my first job, and I show up and I start certifying him, checking off all the things that he's done to his house, because it's in a flood hazard area. And eventually I had to just stop my process and say, who are you? And this is very impressive. So that was my first project, and he's never been too far off my line in terms of him serving on any municipal board. And I was very pleased that he would agree to finish Alan's term, which actually is quite a lengthy term on the Development Review Board.
Archie, you want to say anything about trucking or?
Building in a flood zone. All right. So we need a
I'll
motion?
make a motion to appoint Leah Clark to serve on the Rockingham Planning Commission to complete the appointment that expires June 30, 2018.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, I move we appoint Archie Gleason to serve on the Rockingham Development Review Board to complete the term that expires December 1st, 2020.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's that on that.
It was in the packets, at least that's where mine was.
What's that?
Shane, I handed it out.
Oh, you did?
Oh, maybe you didn't.
That's why, yeah.
Chuck,
Didn't have it. Okay.
Chuck, can you get one to me?
Next on the agenda, update on town-owned property buildings, 38 Green Street lot.
Some time ago, the board, Chuck is going to respond to several of these, but on this one, that is one we were looking to have sold. I've not done anything on that as of yet. Now that spring is actually officially here today, we can advertise that. Any thoughts on how you would like to have it advertised? I had talked about the idea of listing it, but I think there was some interest in just doing it without listing it, just doing it on our own. Any suggestions from the board?
Right now, it's not listed anywhere?
It is not.
Can we just list it as, put an ad and just say to, the town has reserves the right to reject any and all bids? I don't know if that's how.
We put it out to bid
Yeah.
in the past and didn't,
Get it.
nobody,
Nothing.
we got nothing.
Well, we had a minimum bid at that time, right? Of-
Right.
Yes, we did, yeah.
What was that again?
40, was it?
Something like that.
40?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we formally offered it to the abutters? Or cut it in half and offered it to each side?
They were, no, but they were given the, mailed directly the bid information, so they could have done it together if they wanted.
Make the bid?
They could have bid it, yeah. I mean, we sent it to all the neighbors as well as posted it. But they didn't, they chose not to bid. Could have been the price scared them away, but,
Could have been.
When you go through each property, could you tell us why the town owns each property?
yeah, this is one that burned, and then this is before my time, but the town decided to buy it outright from the individual, and the town, Chuck took care of doing the asbestos remediation, and we tore it down last year. So it's vacant land in a really nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
Was it foreclosed before it burned, that one?
Yes, it
so.
was. Yeah. Peter?
In the past, when they've had some of those buildings, one example is up on West Street, right on that corner house that burned. There's a double three-decker. That was sold for less than it cost us to take it down. And I think, I'm not sure about Green Street, the other one that Mike Hardy bought, or Wanda bought for that lot. It improves the neighborhood, so I think if we get a reasonable offer, I think we ought to think about doing it, bring it to the board and let the board decide. I mean, if it's ridiculous, if they offer $1,000, I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to, but I mean, if it costs us 30 to take it down and we got an offer of 15, well, it might behoove us to.
But we could put it out to sealed bid
To
again,
take it.
and we just lower the price and see what.
Well, I wouldn't
see
even
what
put a
comes
price
out.
in it, I just put it out there for, sort of a make an offer thing, and then take the, with the reservation that the town can reject any and all bids. If we don't get what we want, well then,
Or any and all offers.
I hate to keep running an ad, but I mean,
Mhm.
I think putting a price in the ad, isn't gonna stimulate somebody to make a move on it. And then say, if you take a loss on it, you're still gonna, whoever's gonna get it, and probably, you can probably talk to them and see what their plans are, and I mean, if they're just gonna let it turn into a hayfield, well then you gotta think about that, but if somebody's gonna improve the property, it's gonna improve the whole neighborhood, so.
Well, we have to put conditions on it,
Well,
sale,
that's-
conditions of sale, that it has to, something has to happen. That's a
Yeah,
longer
oh, yeah, you
discussion.
can't be just left to go to waste. No, I agree with you there, yeah.
You know, I don't think that's a bad idea, Peter, going back here probably maybe 20 years now. We had a similar property up on the terrace, if you recall.
Yeah, that's the
next
one,
to
that's what I was
Doyle's,
talking
right.
about. That whole
It
corner
ended up-
lot. And two people, I think, the neighbors
Right.
split it. And
Yes, the neighbors did. And at
Yeah.
the time, haven't sat maybe on this board, or the discussion was, we have this much into it, we've got to get this out of it. We never got it.
No.
We ended up going, I think, maybe around 11,000. They each split down the middle,
Yeah.
and split the property down
It
the middle.
also happened on Oak Street.
Right.
Okay, so for this property, what does the board want to do? Do we want to go ahead with Peter's suggestion to put it out for any and all bids that we
Yeah,
can?
I would do it that way. Put it out there and,
with
Well,
discretion
put
of
it
the
out to
town?
bid, or you're just going to put it up for sale?
When we put it up for
Make
sale
offers, or-
before,
Yeah.
we put it at 40 because we wanted to recoup as much of what we had put
Right.
into it, but it's still, that wasn't everything we put into it.
No.
So that's why we said, well, we'll put it out there. If we don't get it, we don't get it. We'll readjust.
Right.
And, we were told, actually, early on, I mentioned this from a realtor, and then the auctioneer came in and told us the same. We're looking at something in the, I'll just say it, in the realm of $25,000.
Yeah.
Very much under what we put into it. So what's the board would like to do?
I'd say go ahead and give it a shot, put it out to rebid, see what comes in. Otherwise, we're going to be holding on to it. We're already
Yeah.
facing a similar situation with that pellet
With
boiler.
no limits, but with some
I would say,
restrictions in the bid?
Why don't we sealed bid with 15,000 or 20,000?
minimum?
Yeah.
We gotta get something out of it.
Is there a sign on the front?
No.
That was people first step.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's sitting there, no one's paying taxes on it, correct?
That's right.
Right.
So if you could sell it, someone owns it, now they're gonna start paying taxes, it's gonna bring money in.
even if we recoup it for less than that, that you can put a value, that the listers can put a value on a property. Say, if they pay 15 and the listers put 25 on it, well, then you've gained some right there with the taxes.
Exactly.
Okay, so
I think we tried to get more for what we thought it was worth, because we lost a lot of money there.
Yep.
That's why we did it. Now it's doing nothing.
All right,
right.
so then let's, 15, do we agree for that? Minimum bid of 15 or no minimum?
I wouldn't think you put a minimum on it.
I
That's
think we have to.
That's what shot you down the last time.
Well, it was 40.
Well, then let's try 20.
Let's try 20.
Let's try 20.
We're here 25.
What if somebody wanted to get,
Going once?
I wrote down.
Sold. You got it.
All right, let's move on and get a consensus here.
why put a number on it? If we put 40 on, that scared everyone away.
Right.
Why put it at 20, or why put it at 25? Let them bid, see what you
comes in
get.
for bids.
See what you get. Don't put a number
Yeah, and
on
you're
it.
gonna reserve the right to reject any and all bids, so I mean,
Okay, so can I get a consensus? All,
yeah, no minimum. I wouldn't
No
put a
minimum?
minimum on it.
Gaetano, no minimum?
I
Peter?
like the minimum.
Doreen?
I'll go along with the majority.
No minimum. Okay, no minimum, but we can reject all bids if we don't feel it
If anybody was
a
watching.
true
Timeline?
bid.
Do you want a timeline for bids, Shane, or do you think? I mean,
I've got the boilerplate. It shouldn't take long to do.
would you
I'd
have
like to
last
try to
one,
line it up.
60 days or something, or?
No reason for that. I try to line it up with, maybe not the next meeting, but the one after, or even the next meeting. It shouldn't take long.
Oh, okay, I didn't know what the last one was.
Yeah, we've already got the language.
Give it 2 weeks
Yeah, I
and
mean,
let it
yeah,
go
I
before
know.
April 15th.
Okay,
You can open them up here at the meeting, have fun.
the end of the last meeting of the month. In 1 month.
When's the next meeting?
Don't you
Next
want it,
meeting's
you have to
April 3rd.
advertise that
April
it's
3rd.
going out for bid? How are we expecting people to
It's
bid?
like a-
Yeah, we'll have to go, we'll put it out there, but
Okay.
meeting a month from
Last,
now.
last meeting of the month, okay. Hyde Street, 42 Hyde.
Chuck?
We are moving forward. Monday, you're gonna see Hodgkins and Son out there starting the work of taking the building down.
Great.
All the remediation, we're clear, we're good to go. So that should be done by next week.
Yay.
Where's that?
Up on Hyde
42
Trail, the
Hyde
house,
Street.
the 3-decker that's built.
Oh, okay, thanks.
And
Thank you.
And then we'll need to sell that, maybe, or somehow.
You'd be lucky to
What
get
was
anybody
the,
bid on that.
amount of
Not much
asbestos?
land there.
One room, minor.
One room, minor asbestos.
That's right, it was
It's
linoleum
gone.
and stuff, yeah.
Less than $1,000, $600?
Yeah, it wasn't that much money at all.
Not much at all to do that.
So
So
then
that's in
we'll-
process.
We'll revisit that of what to do with that property.
Yep.
10 and a half Church Place.
So the abatement's been completed. The next phase, once we clear 42 Hyde Street, is to start looking at the demolition.
Oh, that's 10 and a half, yeah, for 10 and a half.
but not 10.
Yeah.
That's the fire, right? The
Yeah.
fire one?
So yeah, you have two buildings on one parcel. One is not burnt. We did the abatement on.
Has the school district shown any interest in that for parking?
Yes.
Wait, let's hear the
They
rest
have?
of the,
I was surprised. I mean, it's just, I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, it's right there. You can get some of the cars off street, especially at George Street.
Good, Tom?
what's the rest of the report with 10?
So we've cleared the abatement. Now we've got to, we really got to look at the berm structure and say, what is the scope of work that the DOH, Department of Health, is going to authorize us moving forward? Shane's been busily trying to find the money for this, which is a key component, of course, how we scale the project. I think, to speak to Shane and his advice, which is good, is as soon as we're done with 42 Hyde, we move to Church and we just bid it out. We try to create a work program that is something that DOH can handle, and then we just see what the prices are and then move to that next step.
For both 10 and a half and 10.
Yes, just looking at that all together.
Shane?
I just wanted to add that we have been working with Southern Windsor County Regional Planning Commission. They've given me an application for funding. Proposed amount of loan is about $108,000. That's what they're offering us, and so we're going to go through the process of trying to get approval from them. They've already met and signaled that we would be eligible for 0% funding. Of course, that's in the budget right now at I think we have $20,000 as a first payment of $5,000.
Gaetano, do you have something else?
Did we ever get this second company to come in and look at 10? Wasn't there, for the longest time, Catamount couldn't go in to do remediation?
Yes.
This other company came and said they could.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
We did, because we were out there. and
So
it was
did they
like
give us a
-10,
number?
So it was so frozen that was what held the structure up. They did an inspection, and we have that report that we can work with.
Okay.
Yeah, they were able to go inside. They did a report. They couldn't get into every part of the building. So as the property's going down, there's going to have to be some level of inspection at that time.
But it was considerably less cost than the whole pile of hazardous material.
We don't really know that yet. We're going to have to bid it out both ways. Either the whole thing. Here's the thing is that if you have it inspected as you're taking it down, you're going to have it's going to take a lot longer. If you just tear the whole thing down,
We don't
it's
know
going to
yet.
cost more to dispose of it. So we have to bid it out both ways, see which is the cheaper of the two.
And do we have a general time frame on that? We're looking at summer work, after school's out, obviously.
Yeah, the whole thing's in ice right now.
Yeah.
I would like to also just get the highway department to move some of the, if you look at the building on the right-hand side, some of the timbers are over on the neighbor's properties. When we have an opportunity, I'd like to see if we can just push that stuff over so as not to bother the neighbors.
Okay, 34 Old Terrace, unless there's anything else on Church.
34 Old Terrace, you saw it come down, clean as clean could be, a project done by Hodgkins and Son. My hat goes off to them. If there was a complaint, I didn't hear it. It was about as smooth as it comes.
It's done in
We have, so I spoke to Paul Noble, one of the listers, because I know what I know, and I had to speak to Paul about, this value, what do you do with the lot now that it's just undeveloped? It's an odd lot. It's, there's got a couple inches of flat space before it tips down to Westminster. And so, what's the value in that? I did approach one of the abutters and said, because this is kind of it's not very wide, what would you think about the value of expanding your property in that direction? So basically 50% goes to one abutter, 50% goes to the other abutter. That person's on vacation. As soon as they get back, they promise to talk to me. What I'd ultimately like to do is a 1 or 2 page memo to the select board saying this is what we've learned, this is the conceivable value of that parcel. You really can't build on it. It's not, I mean, you can build on anything if you want, and if we were in a different area, maybe that, you'd be so inclined to do so. In that neighborhood, it's not feasible. And then from the zoning perspective, I can tell you that it would just be variance on top of variance that they would need to go through to get anything on that parcel because of the lack of setback, the lack of ability for parking, just all the things that we come to expect in new construction.
Probably the highest and best use is parking, to fill it and use it for parking.
The two adjacent properties, they have no breathing room, so they could use some space for an amenity or two, maybe a little extra parking, maybe a garden space or something, and that might be the best use. We also have this attractive nuisance. Folks, they want to throw their trash on the side. I don't know who it is, but you watch it and the trash is increasing. So we got to figure out where somebody can take some personal responsibility and interest in maintaining that, so it's not just some common area that's neglected.
You may want to give that away. I mean, there's really no value to it.
We're waiting to hear back when the guy
That's
gets
right,
back.
because I approached the guy, he had a surprised look, and he said, I'll get back to you. Because it's not something that's typical.
Chuck, what's the foundation? Is that just a stone foundation there? Is it poured concrete? I mean,
So when we got into 34 Old Terrace, it's basically wood sitting on ground.
Oh, really?
You saw all manner of things, brick and stone
Yeah,
and cinder
yeah.
block. And
That's what I was just
all
wondering.
sorts of patchwork, but it came off looking like an old mill house that wasn't expected to be around for, more than 50 years, and there it was 100 years later. That's one of the reasons all that wood was rotted, and it was starting to move itself towards Westminster.
I haven't had a chance to talk to you, Chuck, but I think because of the openness of that area that we ought to put some Jersey barriers or yard blocks there, just in case. It's a heck of a ride if you
Right.
go off the road there.
Maybe some large stone instead of
Something, anything.
a
I
barrier
just-
like that.
I've been meaning to talk to you about it, I just forgot all about it, you mentioned it.
Good point.
All right. So we'll get an update on that later then.
That's right.
Okay, super.
Thanks.
Anything else? Thank you, guys. Gary, moving on to you. Assignment of administration BCDP Form PM4 Robertson Paper Company demolition.
So what I'm handing out is just a little update to the contract and some documents, some backup documentation. What's that?
I have.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. So if you look at the first couple of pages, the only thing that changed in the contract is that it's $5,280 and not $5,800. So I just went through the work to be done with the administrator, and you can see the memo on the front, an itemized detail of what makes up the $5,280. A couple of other points in here. This grant has a requirement, has a maximum of 8% that can be administrative costs. And a $150,000 grant, that's $12,000. So we're coming in way under that. We want to have as much money as possible for the demolition. This particular grant, there's, in your packet, I put in the backup documents, so you can see in the letter to Shane from the Community Development Program, they talked about the grant application indicated that we were going to have these administrative services through BDCC. And on the following page is the conditions of the award, which most of those are done, but you can see there's just that one item in there that says this, the Form PM4, which is the one that you got in your packet last week. It's a requirement that that form is authorized and signed, authorized by you for the CEO, for the municipal manager to sign, and that we file it online with the grant. And then the contract, the $5,280, just go, the PM4 refers to that contract. That's basically the nuts and bolts of that. There's a lot of verbiage in the conditions award. It's really just that one line, the PM4 form. All of the other conditions are pretty well met, and I think they need to be closed out by May, so we're on target with this last piece. Are there any questions that I could answer?
Any questions? All right, so what does the board think? We approve the assignment of administration? I'm assuming that's what we're approving.
We'll make the motion that we sign the assignment of administration. You need somebody to sign that, Gary?
Sorry, I didn't put the motion in there. Authorize the municipal manager to sign the VCDP's PM4.
Okay. And authorize the manager to sign documents.
No, hold on. The whole board signs the PM4.
Oh, sorry, for the select board
To sign.
Sign the
then you've
PM4
got-
and authorize the filing. And then to authorize the municipal manager to sign the administrative contract.
Right.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so just sign on the front page, next to your name.
Okay, second, Gary, we'll keep you here. CLG Commission requests name, to change the name of the CLG Commission.
Right, so we just had some turnover in the board from a couple of people, and of course, our new CLG coordinator, Sue Rang, and so it comes up with everyone, well, certified local government, what is that?
Right.
And the commission feels that what it is a historic preservation commission, and so why not have all of our public information call it that? It's Rockingham Historic Preservation Commission. And so the commission made a motion to request that the select board authorize that name change. And you can see from the memo in your packet, it is consistent with the authorization that the select board did in 1993 to create the commission, and it's also consistent with the U.S. Department of Interior, which funds the CLG commissions through the State Historic Preservation Office. So it's really, it's a practicality for, the main job of CLG is to educate the public on historic preservation, and I feel it would be really helpful to call it that.
All right, what's the feeling of the board? Anyone make a motion?
You for a motion?
Yeah, I think we need a
Go ahead,
motion.
Peter.
Not
if you
sure how
want.
to word it, otherwise I would.
All right, I'll make the motion unless you want to.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that the Rockingham Select Board change the name from the Rockingham Certified Local Government Commission to the name of the Rockingham Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Certainly makes it more clear in my mind of what it is.
Great, thank you.
All right. Select board items, annual appointments. We have a list in here.
Here we go.
And the first one I think we have to do right is the energy coordinator, if we go down this list. Peter Bergstrom has agreed to continue.
Madam Chairman, I nominate Peter Bergstrom as the energy coordinator.
And second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Conservation Commission, interested is Mike Gia, Peter Bergstrom, and Tom Hernan, and they need 3. Is that right? How many
Nobody
do they
else,
need?
none of these other ones want to
And
get on.
the other
They're
ones are
already
still
still
on.
on.
They have their terms.
Oh, they're still on, okay.
They have their terms.
Okay. I nominate, Madam Chairman, I nominate for the Conservation Commission, Mike Gia, Peter Bergstrom, and Tom Hernan.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Constable, right now we have Ron Lake and Shane Harris. Interested is Ron Lake and Shane Harris.
Make the motion that we appoint Ron Lake and Shane Harris.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Select Board assignments, the Bellas Falls Area Development Corporation. We had Lamont and Peter. Peter's interested. We need 2 Select Board? We need 2 Select Board. If
And why do we need to?
It's in
That question was asked at the,
Sue and I looked it up the other day, and it was in whatever bylaws
is
we
it the,
still have.
is it the bylaws from,
I don't know.
because I think that we're changing it, where the
Well, it's not
BFADC's in the
changed
process
yet,
of
so it
changing that,
says-
so you may just,
It says in the bylaws that are active now, it says
Says
2 select board.
Yeah.
2 Select Board.
okay.
Any volunteers?
I'll give it a whirl.
Okay, Doreen.
We don't meet that often, so it's not like,
Okay.
you know everybody that's on it.
All right. We have
Tomorrow at
all-
3:30 in the third floor.
It's one of those things where we're gonna
All right,
talk
someone
to
want
the
to
neighbors
officially
again.
nominate Peter and Doreen?
Second.
No, nobody, big,
I'll nominate Peter Golick and Dorian Aldridge.
And seconded by Peter.
I'll
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Recreation Committee. Incumbents were, wow, this is old. Peter and Josh. We only need the one?
we haven't even met
Met.
in years.
No, we haven't done,
And I would suggest you not do it until it's needed.
Okay.
yeah,
Pass
Right.
over
There's no
that.
committee
that's
right
fine.
now.
Yeah, because Josh was the only one, yeah.
What's that
Wendy's gone,
involve?
Jeff's gone.
Yeah, the committee's not even involved
Let's get it
anymore.
going.
I mean,
Yeah, what is that was when you.
that was to build a pool up there.
Build the pool
Build
and do
the,
that.
yeah, the building and everything,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
Lefty's
that's
moved
done,
away,
so,
Jeffrey's passed away,
yeah,
there's
and
not
what's his
many
name?
left.
Yeah.
Not unless there's some interest in looking at it like we're looking at the theater for how it could become more maybe effective, efficient. I don't know, but we can look at that another time. Southern Windsor Wyndham County Solid Waste Management District, Gary DeRosa, alternate municipal manager.
Madam Chairman, I nominate Gary Droger and the alternate municipal manager.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appointments per administrative policy. Wyndham Regional Council was Alan and myself. I'll still happy to do it, and I know Deb Wright has expressed interest as well. Any other, we had any other nominations or interest in?
Nominate, Madam Chairman, I nominate Sue Hammond and Deb Wright.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Revolving Loan Fund Committee. Right now, we interested are Katie, Peter, Sandy Martin, and Hugh Haggerty. I was on it, but we don't need 2 select board members, so Peter, if you're interested in doing that?
Yeah, I'll stay on it.
Okay. Does it need more than, we need more than 4, though. We should have another
Should have an odd
community,
number on
we should
it.
have a community member.
It says 1 town staff, 1 from the finance community, 2 community members, 2 at large, 1 of which will be a select board member.
So finance, select board, 2 at large are Sandy and Hugh, right? There really should be 1 more.
One more
Anyone
says
interested?
town staff.
Kelly?
It says town,
Duck.
Susan? It
Gary.
says town staff.
Town staff, oh, okay, town staff.
He's interested.
here.
Well, he's been here all night.
All
They
right,
meet during the day usually.
they meet during the day, yeah, so.
That's
any
another one of those 3 o'clock jobs.
Town staff would be Gary or,
So I staff the committee,
Mhm.
and Ron does come sometimes.
so we officially put Gary as the staff person? We don't have to,
I
do
don't
we?
see why you couldn't,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
See, he's not a non-voting member, so.
Yeah, he's a non-voting member, so there's still only
Yeah,
4.
Still need another one.
We still need a
So,
community,
No, Gary.
we really should have another community,
Why not,
Director knows.
why not finance director?
but they wouldn't be voting either, so we need another community member who would, anyone interested? Get in touch with Gary, I guess we can hold off on,
No, you need 1 more staff member.
we need 2 staff members.
1 town staff,
Uh-huh,
1 from finance community, which is Katie.
yeah,
2 community members, you've already got,
Yeah.
Sandy and Hugh.
Hugh.
2 at large, 1 of which was a select board member.
yeah, so the 1 at large we need.
The committee could recruit someone and make a recommendation to you at a future
Yeah,
meeting.
you have to
yeah.
appoint these people.
So let's
right now.
appoint these and then do that, okay.
How often do they meet?
I'm sorry?
How often? Do they
How
meet?
often do they meet? Not
As
often,
needed.
as
Yeah,
needed.
maybe
When
once
there's
every
a
couple
request.
months, maybe if
I'll
we're
do
lucky.
it, if you want. I'm interested.
We've had two before.
You'd be a good one.
Yeah. All right.
I like
Okay.
talking about money.
All right. Gaetano. So, motion? Katie, Peter, Sanford, Hugh, Gary is staff.
You making a motion, or you want me to make it?
I'm gonna kind
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Town Tax Stabilization Committee. Tim Powers, Richard Stickney, Tom Hernan, and Dennis Hardy. We need 5. We actually need a 5th, because Paul is now a lister, so
Yeah,
he
so
is not
he's- yeah,
able to
got
be
off.
on.
Oh,
We'll just have a motion to take those 4, and they can recruit a 5th. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Tim Powers, Richard Stickney, Tom Hernan, and Dennis Hardy, and wait on the 5th.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes. Emergency Management Coordinator, Ron Lake. Interested is Ron Lake.
I'll nominate Ron Lake for emergency management coordinator.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Forest Fire Warden, Sean McGinnis is interested. We also have a note in here from Larry, who was it?
Larry White.
Larry White.
And I did speak with Sean today, and he said he is definitely very interested in doing it.
Madam Chairman, I nominate Sean McGinnis as the Town Fire Warden.
Second.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sexton of Town-Owned Cemeteries, Malcolm Potter is interested again. Is there a motion?
Madam
I'll make
Chairman?
the motion
Aye.
Go ahead.
that we nominate J. Malcolm Potter for the sexton for the cemetery.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
ADA Coordinator, it's usually the municipal manager.
Under Sexton, supposed to, did you mention?
Oh, sorry, municipal manager is also? No, I didn't, it's needed, so.
Yeah.
Can amend that.
It
Add the
was
municipal
Yeah.
manager.
Stefan and Peter that made the
Yeah,
nomination.
I'll
Okay.
accept.
Yeah, I'll accept the
Okay,
amendment.
all in favor? ADA Coordinator, municipal manager.
Nominate the municipal manager.
Is there a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Certified, the Historic Preservation Review, I don't know, what do we call it now?
No, it's now it's the Historic
580
Preservation
Route 5.
Commission.
Historic Preservation Commission.
Commission.
Yeah.
Without-
Rockingham Historic Preservation Commission. Miles Mickles, John Letman, Charlie Hunter, Fred Tipton, and Annie Guyan. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5.
And I'll make the motion in reference to the certified local, now the historical commission review there, is it? Miles Mickel, John Letman, Charles Hunter, Fred Tipton, and Annie Guyan.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Waypoint Committee hasn't met either, so we'll pass over that one for now. Greater Falls Regional Chamber of Commerce Rep, Gaetano. Was Gaetano, no?
Yeah, meeting tomorrow morning.
So you're still interested?
Sure thing.
Okay.
I'll name it.
Go ahead.
I'll nominate Gaetano for the
there a
rep for the
second?
chamber.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Green Update Chair, Guy Payne and Amy Howlett.
Madam Chairman, I nominate Guy Payne and Amy Howlett for Green Up Chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Rockingham Senior Center Representative, Hugh Haggerty.
I'll nominate Hugh Haggerty as Rockingham Senior Center Representative.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Connecticut River Joint Commission, Margaret Perry and Tom Hernan have expressed interest.
Madam Chairman, nominate Margaret Perry and Tom Hernan as Connecticut River Joint Commissions.
And I'd like to, I'm involved with that, so I'd stay involved with that also,
Me too.
if I may.
Okay.
We only need 2.
We only need 2.
We only get 2.
It's a nomination on the
I
floor.
guess you can go as a person at large, they're open meeting.
Well, whatever.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Bells Falls Opera House Policy Committee, we have already named that, but we should put a select board person to sit on that committee as well. I'd be interested in doing it, I don't know if anyone else is interested.
Okay. I move that we add you to this
I'll
group.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right,
We have a meeting on the 28th,
28th.
6:30, third floor.
Okay, thanks. All right. Manager Search Committee update. All right, we have been in touch with VLCT. We're finalizing the language of the job announcement ad that will go out, and the, oh, Carrie, which reminds me, I forgot to tell you to warn a meeting for Thursday.
What's that?
Warn a meeting for Thursday for the.
This Thursday?
Yeah,
We can't.
can't now, so, we're still in this flux now anyhow, so I guess it's okay. And to, the job description, the announcement, I should have tomorrow the feedback from them of what that should, the final language that we will actually put out as an ad. And so the ad should go out in the next day or so. As soon as I get their final revisions of the draft, I will send the job description and the ad to you, so it can go up on the website, because I need that link to put into the job announcement. So that's where we stand on that. So ideally, the ad will go out this week. And, the other thing is they suggested that the deadline for applications would be April 16th. We went back and forth between the 9th and the 16th. And the 16th, they feel, is the better of the two. 9th is putting it a little close. So deadline for applications would be April 16th, once the ad comes in. Any questions? All right.
None from me.
None.
Okay. Facility maintenance staffing. Select board items.
Yeah, I wanted to raise this. The individual who works for the highway department, who does the maintenance for town facilities, has resigned. He's got a new job. And he's been a very, very valuable employee. It's Pepper Anderson, for the record.
Thank you,
who's done a
Pepper, for
really
all
nice
your
job.
years of hard
He's
work.
going,
Wow.
going to work for another employer, and we applaud him for the great work he's done over the years. The amount of, and Mike, I don't want you to jump in on this, the amount of work he is required to do just on the maintenance side prevents him from doing what needs to be done on the highway side. Even so, that he still can't keep up on all the, as a part-time person working either. It's really difficult to keep up on all the work that needs to get done. We can go out and hire another person, hopefully, who has those same sets of skills that he has, which is both maintenance and is he a CDL driver as well?
Yeah.
And to do those both, but I think, given the facilities we have, particularly Town Hall, I'm wondering if we should be talking about a full-time maintenance person and a full-time highway department individual. We talked about in the budget process, the idea of the needs of maintenance, and we decided, in my recollection, the decision is maybe to put that off to another year. But we're not going to have a maintenance guy as of next week. And that's a problem. And Mike, you could speak further about it.
Yeah, it's,
on your side of it.
I don't know what you're gonna do. I got a good crew, but a lot of them don't have the talents that he brought for the position. I've been thinking about it a lot since he gave his notice. In the last couple of years, I haven't, other than plowing snow on a couple of sidewalks, I haven't included him in any highway stuff. He just his workload is just so great that I can't. I mean, he's here, he's in the library, the Waypoint, fire and police, wherever else they need him. He's up at the rec. It's constant. It's never ending. I call in the morning to see who's at the Bellows Falls garage, and I don't even include Pepper into the day, unless he says, hey, I got a couple hours, but that's a rarity. It really is. I'm just fortunate to get him for snow, and there's been times he's had to leave for that, for a furnace problem here, or something at the Waypoint, or something else, but
you know, and his skill level, particularly with, you know, pouring cement at
Yeah.
the pool,
Yeah.
and all the work he did over there saved
The
us,
compactor at the rec.
saved us a lot of
He
money.
did, he saved his town a lot of money.
And-
Sidewalks,
recycling
too.
center.
He did sidewalks.
Yeah.
Do you have an individual in mind?
You'd be
I
hard
mean,
pressed
the
to
question
find
is-
somebody
Mm.
of that caliber, I can tell you right now.
The question is, we have one person doing 1.5 jobs. And the question is, do we hire a full-time maintenance person and a full-time individual for highways? So
How bad are you off on a highway person, Mike?
Oh, I could've used him every day.
I know you couldn't get anybody to do shoveling this winter, I know
Well,
that,
that's
because you and I
something we're
talked
gonna
about that.
next year. I'm not gonna talk about it right now, but we gotta do something with that. Yes, we have. Yeah.
So, do we
I'm
have
losing
the-
him. I don't know how soon before we get him replaced. I'm losing another guy for 8 to 10 weeks for procedure he's having. We have 2 guys in Bellas Falls. I'm gonna move a couple guys from Rockingham down here, but then that much less gets done in Rockingham. I got a lot of culverts I gotta get changed out. You know, like I said, it's 8, our culverts are failing.
Do we have money in the budget for both? No.
I haven't even looked yet. We're banging on the village budget right now. We do have fund balance that's available, but it's just something, I just wanted to bounce it off you guys before I did anything.
How much luck do you think? You just mentioned
Well,
a time and a half.
Gaetano had his hand up first.
Just, you said he was basically doing maintenance full-time besides plowing sidewalks,
yeah.
and do you feel like you could get by, just looking at a budget thing, if we hired a maintenance guy and you're stuck with losing another guy with
I
8,
can't take
10
another
weeks?
loss. I can barely get done what I can, what I have in a timely fashion, provide a level of service for public safety. We'll get to
So
that.
having him doing maintenance just about full-time wasn't very beneficial to your,
Not to highway, was to the town.
you were kind of short-staffed
Oh, yeah.
before he just left.
Yes. Carrie?
I'm the one that sends out the tasks to Mike and to Pepper. And I would send tasks to Pepper probably an average of 2 or 3 a day from the different buildings that needed him. But there's also a ton of tasks I'm sending to Mike for highway things that aren't getting done because he's Pepper's.
I mean, there are times I
With the
pull off
buildings.
something that needs to be done, unless he instructs him to do it, I take him. Unless the manager told me to do it, I have to, I need him, I need the help.
You definitely need.
And it's always something, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Peter,
burst
do you have
pipe
something
here,
else?
this, that, and the
Yeah,
other thing.
exactly, he's running constantly.
The highway lost a guy, what, 6, 7 years ago, that you never got
Never
back?
got replaced. Since I've started here, we were talking today, there's been 3 positions that have been eliminated in the Bellas Falls garage that were never replaced.
Right.
Is there something else, Peter?
Well, I was just gonna ask Shane, you mentioned the time, doing a job and a half, but we're gonna have, how much luck do you think we're gonna have hiring a half-time person to do the maintenance?
I'm not suggesting that, I'm suggesting
No,
a
no,
full-time
I'm
maintenance.
just saying, using your,
It's a full-time position.
well, I realize that, I mean, there's stuff that's not gonna get done, but I don't know, as Sue said, we don't have any money in the budget, and we can't keep dipping into the,
Right.
fund balance, because you got a truck that's gotta come up, you gotta cough up 60 grand that we're gonna be coming up talking about shortly, and either we got the money in the budget, or where are we gonna cough that money up? Either you're gonna borrow it, or,
Next year, you're gonna jack it up.
Carrie?
I tell you, if you're gonna start calling electricians and plumbers for everything in these buildings,
Carpenters.
somebody to fix the roof or something like that our maintenance guy did, Pepper did, you're gonna be paying a lot more than what you're gonna take out of fund balance for somebody.
This guy's it's gonna take a while to catch on.
the other thing though, you just mentioned electrical, was he licensed to do electrical?
He didn't do
didn't
not
do
electrical,
electrical.
but.
Because if he was doing electrical, then we got a problem.
No,
he was
no, but
doing-
when we're doing connections of like.
He run wires and
Right.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
he-
We
Oh, yeah,
he
yeah,
did
yeah.
run-
Okay, I just want to clarify that,
No,
because.
he
Yeah, he
ran,
did
he
run
ran lines
wiring.
with an electrician. He
Right,
was the
okay.
extra
You work behind
person
the
there
scene a
for a
lot.
lot of things.
Right. We got
And
stuff
for
that needs to get
computer stuff
lifted,
and-
things to get moved, he does it, and maybe 1 or 2 other guys from highway, but
Okay, so I guess at this point, I mean, it sounds like the board is, if we have the money, we're in favor. The issue is whether we have the money.
Well,
Or
we
you're
can-
asking us to take out a fund balance.
Well, I'm not,
Asking.
I haven't run the numbers, this just happened last week.
Yeah.
And I want to, to me, I think the best course of action is to hire a person to do maintenance, so we can stay up on the things that we need to be staying up on, otherwise it's going to get more expensive down the road. And Mike he's down several people also. We need to run the numbers and figure out how much it's going to cost.
Exactly.
I want to get a weather report from the board to see where you all are. But I mean, if you want to do the job right, with all the work he's got to do on the highways and all the facilities work that we have, it takes resources.
This building alone, it's got a lot of ADA stuff that has to be completed.
Yeah.
Hasn't been done
He's been
yet.
working on it.
Well, the heating system alone
Yeah.
is run through a computer,
Yeah.
which Pepper's been trained on, so
Yeah.
somebody's gonna have to be trained on that.
Yeah,
I don't have the time. to do it.
It's very, very complicated.
yeah.
Okay. So basically, the feeling of the board is look at the numbers.
I'm not
Find the
opposed
money.
Yeah.
to looking at it, but I think, as Shane said, we gotta,
We gotta look at the
Run the
numbers.
he's got his hands full now with budget, so.
We also need to act relatively quickly on this, and, because we got to start advertising for something, and,
Well, we can advertise, I mean, also put
can
in
ad-
that they have a CDL.
we can
because they-
advertise both and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I'd like to do, and see what we get.
Gaetano?
I mean, just to reflect back to this check we got at the beginning of the meeting, where's that going?
That's,
General
well, that's
fund?
going into the, that's taxes.
That we almost didn't get, so that's, half of an annual salary for someone that we're not gonna be able to get by without this person. We're gonna have to.
Okay. Yeah, I would say look at the numbers. I mean, ideally, we want both, advertise for both. Yeah, okay.
I'll advertise both, see what we get.
All right. We won't get Pepper. Thank you, Pepper, for all your years of service.
No, he's got a nice gig.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. We added on the truck, right? Is that what
Yes.
it did for the replacement truck?
Yes, we lost a vehicle, actually, when I had given the wrong vehicle that we lost to damage, and that was a 2014, not a 2015. And it was totaled out, and I think I've given everybody the information on that. It was totaled out, and we're gonna get $138,000 for the older vehicle. After deductible, we actually get $137,000. We do need another vehicle, and we found at Patriot basically an identical vehicle, for just a hair over $200,000. Because, if we were to go out to bid, and, with specs and all that, we'd be looking for some time before a vehicle were to arrive potentially, unless this was the low bid. But if you look at the previous purchase in 2014, July, to now, we're looking at a little over 1% increase per year to get to the price that they're offering us. And 138 is an appraised value based upon, my understanding is they got some bids on it from some scrap dealers. So these are real numbers. We need a vehicle, and we need it now. And there's one available, and it's a very good price. The identical vehicle that Mike, you can talk further about the type of vehicle and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's virtually the same truck, it's got the same body, same size engine, same plow and wing, it's virtually the same truck. And since the loss of that truck, I pulled a six-wheeler out of Bellas Falls to cover that area, and we've actually had 5 accidents on that run, and I'm not blaming it on the driver or anything, it's just, he can't get around with that smaller truck like he could with the tandem, the 10-wheeler, to get things plowed off and sanded. as needed, when needed. That little truck, you get down to half a load of sand, Gary can attest, he drives on, you gotta go back and reload again. You can't even put the whole load out because you're so light, you can't get up and down the hills. That truck covers the majority of the steepest hills in Rockingham. And, yeah, it's been, you realize how much I missed it till I didn't have it.
All right, so what's the board thoughts on this?
This thing just happened to be sitting there, red in color,
Yeah,
exactly
ready
what
to go.
we need.
Just a coincidence.
Yeah, there should be a picture in there of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a coincidence.
Shiny new.
Coincidental.
Well, then what they're doing is Mike and I met with them the other day. What they're doing is, VLCT has a certain
Yeah.
spec, and they're just building them, and people are buying them. We did get,
What's that yellow one outside there?
is it the same?
That's the yellow one. We don't want yellow.
I know.
We
That's
had-
what I thought the one we
We
were
had those
gonna.
yellow ones.
we were
When that was
gonna-
down to Patriots?
You-
Yeah.
You know, I think that's in their service,
No.
because I was there when I brought my truck down.
Yeah, the same vehicle has just been sold to town of Barnard, town of Brookfield. They've also just bought them, and it's kind of just a VLCT spec that's put out there.
For
And we're
that
get-
price range?
And we're getting
Yeah.
what from the insurance company?
138 less a $1,000 deductible. So we have to make up, $60,000, which, since we have, I don't see any issues with finding that kind of money, since we would be borrowing, we will be doing a borrowing anyway for a six-wheeler this year. We're late on doing that, and so we can just add that to the borrowing on it and just, push it out a little bit. We'll have to run the numbers, but I don't know that we have a choice but to borrow, or to acquire this vehicle. We'll just figure out how to make it happen.
Need a motion?
Yes.
Then I'll move to purchase this 2018 Western Star, a model 4700 SF for the town of Rockingham. Highway Department.
And to authorize the manager to execute
Authorize.
purchase
Okay.
documents.
Yes.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Peter did. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And we'll pull the trigger tomorrow if we can. I'll meet you down there at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, that'd be great. I don't know what we're gonna get for Wednesday and the Thursday. It doesn't sound like we're gonna get hit like
That's
Southwest is.
What's it do in summer months?
Hauls gravel through dirt roads, hauls gravel to jobs, hauls
Then we-
gravel away from jobs.
Getting more gravel out of, the rest of it out of Darby Hill this summer? or something?
Yeah, yeah. We'll
Permits.
It'll haul stone, yeah, it will.
Actually, buying it this time of year gives us, insofar as the warranty, kind of brings us through an extra winter in warranty.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
I did notice, just pointed out, that there's a 100,000 mile less warranty on this new one as opposed to the warranty they were offering in 2014.
Less? Don't sound right.
2018, we're getting a 100,000 mile on the engine, DD13.
Yep.
In 2014, that same engine warranty was same amount of years, but for 250,000.
I'll have to check on that.
I would just ask them,
Yeah.
something change, and they had some radiator problems and all that.
It could have been an extra, it could have been extended warranty. I know a couple of trucks we did get extended. I think that's,
I think we'll get
we really ought to stay with that.
The price is not that much different, so
It's not, you're right. That's right, it's worth it.
While we're here.
Their service is second to none. I
Yeah.
mean, we have a truck go down and they're on top of it. And they work till it's,
How to make up the radiator issue?
that had nothing to do with the previous problems. It was a stress crack.
Stress crack. Okay, how about this kit that was referred to?
Yeah,
Has
that was
been-
put in.
That's been
That
put
was
in?
installed, we had,
Okay.
that was a misunderstanding, Shane
Yep.
and I. That was installed, we had zero problems after that.
Okay,
But we had an incident where that truck actually went off the road and
Yeah.
was pulled back on. We don't know if it twisted and broke then, but it
Right.
began leaking after that. So,
Okay.
that truck's had that truck's had a string of bad luck. Yeah, but we just did something to it. We dumped all brakes, that's a wear item.
Right.
All the brakes, yeah.
so when this radiator issue happens, it costs us money?
Just this one. The rest of them are covered by Patriot.
Okay,
Yeah, to the tune of about $1,800.
so we're covered in the future now, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Not on the,
Not on the 2011.
not
no,
on
no.
2011.
We're paying now. That truck, that's up this year, so.
So do we do anything, okay, truck's up this year, but
Yeah.
do we explore like radiator repair, recoring or resoldering?
No, we
or
never
what?
have.
You
They
never
all
have?
been under warranty, so they just took them.
Okay,
Yeah, and this last one, we just replaced it because I needed the truck for the storm.
right,
And that was, here again, that was a case with a radiator leak, the day of that last big storm.
right.
Patriots took it right in, they overnighted a radiator out of New Jersey that night, and they had it in like an hour before the first snowflake hit, and
Okay.
it was on the road, ready to go. Because I was in a panic, what am I gonna do? And
Right, gotcha.
All right, anything else?
salt.
Salt, yeah, I was just gonna ask you about salt.
I found some salt today, and they're supposed to get it to me by the end of the week.
Good.
It's the same exact cost as the state bid. Fortunately, when American Rock that we didn't accept, we went with Cargill. We were still on the bid list for the state, I found out, and we're gonna get it for the same price. And
Good.
she said she'd have me some before the storm, but we'll see. I'm very limited, there won't be a pre-salt. I just don't, maybe a little on some of the major hills, we just don't have it. We don't have, nobody does.
No, I read that in the paper. All right. Thanks. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
staying till 8:30.
No problem.
Not a problem when you're up at the crack of dawn.
Night, thank you.
Late
guys.
nights, early mornings, I'm used to it. Good, that's it.
All right,
You good?
that's it.
Awesome,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Mike.
Thanks, guys. All right, review overtime and comp time report. Well, we know when it snows when we look at this, don't we?
You can pray that it don't, won't hurt my feelings.
You can have it, it's an extra.
Any other questions on overtime, comp time?
Not for me.
All right. Review task list, we don't need to do that, it's not the first meeting. Review agenda items for the next meeting, April 3rd. Committee for roads, et cetera. Education committee, whatever we want to call it.
And
Sidewalk.
Sidewalks.
update on these buildings.
Do we want to get Everett in at that point for the
RSMS?
RSMS?
For the next, yeah, sure.
Okay.
What
I mean,
is it,
see if he's available.
RSMS?
I have no idea what his schedule is. but-
RSMS
Yeah.
update or what?
Update, yeah. The road, that's the road report that he did to let us get an idea of what we can do with anything for Grizzle Drive and other priorities. It's a lot of road work that has to be done. Anything else?
I'll have your year-to-date.
Yep, that's right. Review and approve orders, bills, and warrants. Anything in there?
I just have a quick question.
Mhm.
On accounts payable, clerk dog hydrant poop, BA.
Oh.
What is that?
Those were little plastic bags, poop bags that were
Oh.
given out. People went and had their
Okay.
dog rabies
Okay.
clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's what that was.
okay.
Yeah, I took the herd up there, they were pretty neat. They were little fire hydrants with the town of Rockingham printed on them.
And it's
With
for
a-
the dog,
With the bag,
dog
yeah.
collar, yeah.
And
They were $297.24.
It was the incentive, that's the only reason I wasn't gonna license them. I said, I gotta have that for my collection.
and which is
Just kidding.
a reminder to get people dogs license. It's coming up, right? April
Yeah.
1st?
Yeah.
Is that the deadline? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have one more, and I know things have increased, but the clerk's budget for elections for food is way more than I ever paid for
What
food.
page was that on?
It's on the second page.
First week.
You know, it says Shaw's. I always did business locally with Leaside, and they were always very accommodating. And it is up to her to do what she wants to do, but I just think that's a little pricey.
Okay. All right. Anything else? We need a motion to approve. Right? What's that?
No. Make a motion, we approve orders, bills, and warrants.
Your second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other business? Doreen?
No.
Peter?
Yeah, Hitty Green parking lot, Michael, I wish Mike was still here. I know we posted the sign up, the parking lot's gonna be closed at midnight. I park my car in there when I do my little 300-mile walk here around town, but I noticed that there's still a lot of snow. There's a particular pickup, a white GMC with a main plate that hasn't been moved, I think, since it was parked there at the beginning of the winter. There's snow all around it, there's snow on it. I wonder why it hasn't been towed, number one, and a lot of cars haven't been moved because there's ice built up where they're parking. So I wonder what the enforcement is on towing those cars.
That's nothing new.
I mean, there's some
I got
places-
pictures of
And I
cars.
noticed one of them, we have a legislator parking a car up there too, because there's a state house. That's parked up there.
Well, yeah, he lives down there, but he moves it all the time. There's a lot of vehicles that don't move
Well,
during the
that's what I'm saying, I mean,
snowstorms.
but we put the sign up.
We
that
have
the
signs
Parking lot's
threatening-
closed at midnight, and it's for plowing purposes, I mean, you would think.
They gotta work around it all night
During the
long.
winter?
Yeah, I know, and it's a pain in the
I'll
neck.
talk to
I know.
Chief Lake.
Just
about-
see why, find out. Maybe, I mean, and they have parking permits, so they're legally parked there, don't get me wrong. It's
But
just
they
that-
have to move when they're
But
supposed
that's,
to, or
they're
they get
supposed to
towed
move
and they're
them,
not
that's,
being
and
towed.
when you go up there and, it's a mess up there.
Okay.
I don't know about the down
thing
at
down
Pigeon
there.
Park or by the waypoints, I don't know how bad they are down there, I didn't get a look down there, but
I'll have them take a look.
just curious to see.
You can tell which ones have been.
That one pickup just irritates me, it's been just sitting there and it
I'll-
hasn't moved, and
I'll talk to Chief Lake tomorrow.
and then I checked the plate, and it's a main plate, and why is that parked? Is it abandoned or what, just-
All right. We'll find out. Stefan?
I'm all set, thank you.
Gaetano?
Nothing.
Okay. Executive session. Oh, Gary, you handed me that. Let me
You
do
got the
it.
sheet there?
And I don't expect there'll be any decision after.
Should have handed it to Peter.
I used to read it, but I don't have the sheet in front of me.
She handed it to me. I'm just trying to think what I did with it.
This one? Which part?
313. She's got one, she's got it right
Oh,
here.
good. So I got all, everything else.
I used to keep it.
Doreen's got it.
Doreen's got it? Okay.
I move that the board enter into executive session to discuss the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, but the public body must make a final decision to hire or appoint in an open meeting, and it must explain the reasons for its final decision pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313A3.
And invite
invite-
the municipal manager and HR.
Okay, and invite the municipal manager and
HR.
HR.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So you will not be an announcement after this?